Right, I think that is most of us. So I'm just gonna wait for my team to let me know that the live stream is working, and then we will go ahead and start.
Yes. The live stream is on.
Excellent, thank you, Eric. All right, welcome, pardon applicants. My name is Mel Barnes. I'm the governor's chief legal counsel and a member of the pardon board. I'm gonna introduce my fellow board members this morning, go through a couple of housekeeping items, and then we will go ahead and get started hearing from all of you. So with us today on Zoom are pardon board members, Reverend Jerry Hancock, who is the director of the Prison Ministry Project. He previously served as a public defender, a deputy district attorney, and as an administrator for the Department of Justice's Law Enforcement Services Division. We have pardon board member Judge Jeffrey Kremers, who is Attorney General Call's nominee to this board. He served as a Milwaukee County Circuit Court judge for 26 years, including serving as chief judge for 7 of those years before retiring in 2018. We have board member Cindy O'Donnell, who served as the Deputy Secretary for the Department of Corrections under Governors Thompson, McCallum, and Doyle. She also served as a Division Administrator under Attorneys General Lautenschlager and Van Hollen. We have board member Noble Ray, who served with the Madison Police Department for almost 28 years, including as Chief of Police from 2004 to 2013, and led the U.S. Justice Department's Policing Practices and Accountability Initiative. He currently provides racial bias training for law enforcement agencies around the nation and the world. So those are our board members today. We will just touch on a couple of housekeeping items about how today is going to work before we get down to the business of the meeting. So everyone, please remember this hearing is being live streamed on Wisconsin Eye and YouTube. We'll ask applicants to keep your video off and mute yourselves until it is your turn to be heard by the board. That will just make sure we have good audio quality and that we can focus on the person who's presenting. If you do run into any IT issues with the Zoom, don't worry. Someone from my team will give you a call. We'll sort things out. They're great at tech support. And if we need to come back to you because your tech isn't working when it's your turn, that's no problem. We can do that. Otherwise, we will call folks up in the order listed on the agenda and open meetings notice. If we do finish the first section before 10 o'clock, we will take a short break to make sure that we stay open meeting notice compliant and pick back up at 10 this morning. When it is your turn to be heard by the board, you'll have about 5 minutes total to share your story and answer questions. So we'll ask you to spend the first 3 minutes of that time answering the questions that we sent you in advance. As a reminder, that is to provide us a brief summary of your offense and how your sentence went. And we're not here to retry the crime. This is not a criminal court. We're not looking for you to try to minimize accountability or anything like that. We want to hear from you about what happened, your part in it, and then move on to what has happened since. So the second question we've asked you to answer is a brief summary of what you've done since the completion of that sentence. So community involvement, employment, things like that, where you're at now in your life and how things are different. And then finally, the third item is a brief statement about why you're seeking a pardon and why you think the governor should grant you one. After you spend 3 minutes answering those questions, the board may or may not have additional questions for you. Don't read too much into it either way. Sometimes everything has been covered in your statement and your application, but if the board does have questions, we want to make sure that they have the information that they need to make a recommendation for the governor. So if you start veering too far past your 3 minutes, I will gently interrupt you and move on to make sure that we can get to those questions. Once the board is done asking you questions, you're welcome to sign off the Zoom. You don't need to hang out all morning. And then once everyone has been heard for the morning session, the board will move into closed session to decide whether or not to recommend your application to the governor for a pardon. You need a majority support of board members present in order for that application to be sent to the governor, who will then make the final decision about granting or rejecting your application. Either way, you'll hear about the outcome of today's hearing in about a month or a month and a half. So we know that you've been waiting patiently even to get get to today, but just a reminder, you will not get an answer today. We do want to make sure that we thoroughly consider these and send them to the governor. So you can expect to hear from us in about a month or a month and a half with the outcome. So we will call folks up then, starting with our first morning session. And our first applicant is Carrie Iml, who I believe I did see in the Zoom. Miss Iml, can you hear us? There we go.
Hi, good
Am I
morning.
pronouncing your last name correctly?
It's Iml, but you did pretty well.
Okay, great. Thank you. We'll turn it over to you.
Sure. I anticipated having a little bit more time, so I'm going to try to get through my whole statement in a timely manner and be respectful of everybody's time today. But to begin, I really must express my most sincere gratitude for the opportunity to speak with you today. So thank you. My name is Carrie Iml, and I'm seeking a pardon for one felony conviction of injury by intoxicated use of a vehicle and one misdemeanor conviction for causing injury while operating a vehicle under the influence. My offenses occurred in the early hours of January 30th, 2010. January 29th, I drove my two victims, Ashley and Danielle, to a bar in Mukwonago. We were celebrating Ashley's 21st birthday. Ashley is my stepsister, who I had known most of my life, and our relationship was more like real sisters than stepsisters. Danielle was one of Ashley's close friends. We celebrated together, drinking alcohol, and around bar close, I made the terrible and life-changing decision to drive us back to Ashley's house. I never should have been driving that night, as I had consumed multiple alcoholic drinks at the bar. There's no excuse or good explanation for my decision to drive us home. It's the worst decision that I've made in my life. My ability to safely operate the vehicle, I'm sure, was impaired. And I know that my irresponsible decision caused severe physical and emotional pain, including to my dearest friend in life. I've explained in more detail in my pardon application my memories of how the crash happened, but I'll attempt to sum it all up for you today. On the way home, in a remote part of the Kettle Moraine Forest, I drove off the road and crashed into a tree. I can remember losing control of the vehicle, but I don't remember crashing. My next memory is waking up in a ravine, and Ashley was also thrown from the vehicle. Danielle stayed within the vehicle, and when I found myself in the ravine, I remember being terrified for all of our safety. In 2011, I pled guilty to one felony count and one misdemeanor count. I was sentenced to 60 days in jail and 4 years of probation. I ended up serving 30 days in the Walworth County Huber facility and 30 days house arrest in Walworth County. My driver's license was revoked for 2 years. I attended a victim impact panel, and I completed all required alcohol assessments. During my 4 years on probation, I attended all meetings with my probation officer and complied with all of their conditions. I received no violations and was discharged on time in 2015. Needless to say, I was so scared by this experience that I never used alcohol to excess and certainly did not drive under the influence of alcohol ever again. Every single day since January 30th, 2010, I've thought about how irresponsible I was that night. I recognize that I could have caused serious harm or death that night to the people in my car or anyone else who happened to be on the road. I'm so very sorry for my irresponsible decisions, and I regret the irreversible harm that I caused to my victims. And when I think about the harm and suffering I caused, I feel a deep pain in my body that I expect will never go away. I could have killed my sister and another innocent young woman, and they had their whole lives ahead of them. I was 22 years old when this happened, and I'm now 36. I've spent every day in the last 14 years wishing that I could go back in time and make a different choice that night. I should have called for a ride. I was negligent. I was irresponsible. I was selfish. I was reckless, and I was wrong. But I cannot go back and change what I did. All I can do is try to be a good person and make sure that I never make the same poor choices again. I also do my best to help others to make better decisions. I've worked hard to become educated and credentialed as a counselor. When I committed my offenses, I was studying to be an elementary school teacher. I wanted to teach kindergarten. After my felony conviction, I changed my major. I graduated from the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee in 2014 with degrees in psychology and education. And in 2020, I obtained a master's degree in counseling. I am now a licensed professional counselor by the state of Wisconsin. I work as a counselor today. My clinical specialty is developmental trauma. I frequently work with juvenile offenders, and many of these kids have not only committed their own offenses, but are also victims themselves of significant abuses and traumas and neglect. I have dedicated myself to helping others heal from trauma. Much of my work is funded by the state or local government, but I also sometimes provide pro bono work to clients in need, including expert testimony in their court hearings, creating a supportive and therapeutic space for struggling parents, or connecting families with resources to support their daily needs. I'm very proud of my career, and it's no coincidence that in my work, I try to help people who are facing similar traumas to what my victims experienced in my felony case. It's my own way of making amends. I describe in my pardon application a lot of community and volunteer work that I have done, so I'll not repeat all of that here, but I have adopted the motto in life to help or give what I can when I can. I recognize the pain and suffering that I put into the world due to my criminal conduct in 2010, and I want to give back as much good as I possibly can for as long as I am able. After the night when I hurt Ashley and Danielle, I always wanted to apologize to them, but I did not know how to do that in a way that was respectful of their wishes, needs, and boundaries. There were also legal restrictions prohibiting me from having contact with them, even though Ashley was my stepsister. And this was very difficult. I did not speak to Ashley or Danielle for 12 years. I feel so fortunate that recently I was able to reach out to my victims through a restorative justice program. Me and Ashley are sisters, and we were best friends, but this case broke our bond. And I'm so grateful that I was provided this opportunity to share apology letters with each of my victims through a restorative justice professional named Amy Nemitz. I'm informed that Danielle received my letter but did not respond. I did, however, receive a response from Ashley. And to my great joy and delight, Ashley accepted my apology. And since our reunion, we have rekindled our sistership. I've had the honor of meeting her family, and we're now trying to make up for the years that we lost. You have in my pardon application a copy of the letter that I wrote to Ashley and the letter that Ashley wrote in support of my application. I don't know how to express in words how grateful I am just to have my sister back. The fact that Ashley found the grace to forgive me is simply a blessing. I have found my calling in life as a mental health professional. I intend to start my own private practice next year. And one reason I am requesting a pardon is so that I'm not limited in my ability to obtain loans, insurance, or enter into government contracts. Also, I understand that my felony could limit my ability to become paneled with some insurance companies, which would diminish the number of clients that I could serve. I'm also requesting a pardon to help me start a family of my own. I have always envisioned myself as a mom and having children, but that has not happened for me yet. And I recognize that by having biological children might not be a part of my journey, but I would love to raise a child or children. I would feel just as fulfilled to adopt or foster a child. My felony could limit my ability to foster or adopt. And if I were fortunate enough to have children, I know that convicted felons have obstacles participating in children's activities. I would not want my criminal decisions from many years earlier to limit my participation in their lives. Thank you again for this time and for granting me the opportunity to speak with you today.
Thank you, Ms. Iml. Questions from the board? No, all right. I think that covered it very much. Appreciate your time this morning, Ms. Iml. Thank you for sharing your story with us, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your morning.
I think we froze. I didn't catch the end.
Just thank you very much for your time this morning, and we hope that you enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Our next applicant this morning is Jennifer Malone. Ms. Malone, are you in the Zoom with us?
I'm here.
Excellent. We can hear you. We can't quite see you yet.
It says I cannot start my video because the host disabled it.
All right, let's see if we can fix that on our end.
And now I'm on now.
Okay.
Hi. But in my video, oh, I don't see myself. Okay. No, you guys cut it off.
We're gonna prompt you to start it and we'll see if
Okay,
that works.
Okay, let's see.
There we are.
You see and hear now?
We sure can. We'll turn it over to you.
Hi. I'm so excited and I'm so nervous at the same time. I just want to say thank you for choosing my application. My name is Jennifer Malone. I'm 52 years old. This is the first time that since this has happened that I've actually like a lot of feelings are coming into play right now. So just bear with me. This is really hard for me. It was February 13th of 2000. It was 10 years ago, 2013, 11 years ago. I was with my son's father, my kid's dad. We were together 20 years all together. Very toxic, very abusive relationship. We were at that time, we had split up. He had his own place, but he did not have transportation to work, and he paid child support, so I needed my child support. So I rented a car in my name for him so he could go back and forth to work. And the dad was supposed to return the car. I was bringing him to Kenosha, and we stopped at the gas station, and we got into an argument. And he went and paid for the gas, but he did not get back in the car. He left walking with the key fob in his possession. And in order for me to return the car, I had to have the key fob. So I was driving up alongside of him, and he was screaming at me in the window and yelling at me, and I was scared. And so I wanted to scare him. So I hit the gas and I was hitting the brake, and he slipped, I believe, and there was ice, and he slipped, and next thing I know, his leg was under the bumper. It happened so fast that I really don't remember I just don't remember how it all happened. I just remember that the police were being called and he was on the ground and he was not hurt. Thank God for that. But when the police came, they took me to jail and they charged me with reckless endangerment. I would like to say that I am so sorry that I made the choices at the time, because it not only affected me, it affected my children. And it was very, very stupid of me. I should have just left, but I didn't have the key fob. And then, I finally did get the key fob back, but I should have left. I was in the car, I should have left, but I was scared. I didn't know what to do. I was scared. So I wasn't thinking straight. I received a year probation for that. And I did my probation, and I started while I was on probation, or before I got on probation, while this was going on, I decided that I had too much time on my hands. And I'm on disability, Social Security disability. So at the time I wasn't able to work. And so I decided I was going to go to school. And I found my calling when I went to school. I wish I could be a student forever. I loved school. And I went to school and I graduated from Gateway with a human services degree. And in that time period, I also took anger management classes. I went to counseling while I was the whole time I was at Gateway. I saw a counselor for my my issues. I still was dealing with my kid's father at this time. You know, we were back and forth, back and forth. It was very toxic. I was still dealing with him. So I was not in the right mind frame at all. But I made it through school, and I did some volunteer time at the LGBTQ Center. I volunteered my time there. I have a 30-year-old son that's HIV positive and addicted to meth. So I kind of did that, you know, for him. And I'm sorry, I'm so nervous.
That's
I did
okay. Take your time.
Okay. Let me breathe. This is the first time I've ever really talked about this since it happened. I mean, I kind of just tried to move on from it, but I can't because it's hanging over my head, and it's really embarrassing. I mean, I'm in my 40s. I mean, I was embarrassed, and I don't like telling people because they automatically stigmatize you when you have that type of thing on your record. So, anyways, I decided, you know, that I liked school so much. I graduated from human services, but I couldn't do very much because of my felony. I couldn't really do very much in that field. I had done a CNA for 22 years, and my plan was to be a nurse, but they wouldn't accept me into that program because of my felony. So the next thing, when I did the career counseling, the human services was, you know, something that fit in with what I was good at. So that's why I did that. I couldn't get a job doing much in human services with my felony. So I decided to keep going to school. The only program that would accept me at Parkside was criminal justice. I don't understand that how I don't understand that how I can get in you know, into a criminal justice program, but you know, with my felony. But I was like, hey, I've got to do something with myself. And so I went and I graduated from Parkside in 2022. And while I was at Parkside, I did a lot of volunteer work with the young, you know, I was the oldest kid in the class all the time. I was like the grandma. So I had a lot of life experience. So I did a lot of volunteer work with, you know, some of the kids at school and stuff, just mentoring and that. And, you know, if they just, I'd like to inspire them to keep going to school and, you know, to keep focused. So I did a lot of volunteer work at school for that. And excuse me. And then I also, I graduated in 2022 in December with my criminal justice degree. Very proud of myself for that. I decided that I was going to focus on my children then. After I got done with school, my kids were getting ready to go into high school, and I decided I was going to focus on them because I needed to get them on the right track and graduated and situated, which is what I did. My daughter just graduated last month. My son graduated last year. They both graduated. They both applied to UWM. Oh, this is what I wanted to say. When I was in school at the criminal justice program at Parkside, I took a class. It was called Nonviolent Communication. I know I put this in my application, but it was a pilot program they integrated it with the Department of Corrections. So we actually took the class at the prison at RCI with the prisoners. And it was mind-blowing. And it was such a great experience and it worked out so well that they decided to integrate it into the program, into the college curriculum. So that is now a class. And I'm really proud that I was one of the first people that got to do that. And that class right there did more for me than anger management, than counseling. That nonviolent communication class taught me so much that I have the book still, that I still refer to the book when I'm having problems with communication or when I'm having an issue. I still refer to the book so I can cope with things differently than I did before. So fast forward, finally came the day where my son's father and we split up for good about 5 years ago. Best thing that ever happened. I am not the same person. I concentrated on my children. I became a single parent pretty much overnight. And my kids have turned out great. One of the things that was hard for me was that I was like a a room mom, I guess they call them. I volunteered a lot at my kids' school, all the way up until, you know, junior high. And when this happened, I wasn't allowed to do that anymore. And it's, you know, all the teachers, they want me to come and help, and they want me to do this and that, and I can't now. And I can't tell them why, you know, it's embarrassing. So I decided that, you know, I was going to just, you know, I was going to just keep on doing, you know, what I could to keep them on track, which I did. And I'm proud of them, and I'm grateful for that. So I've learned about myself in the last, you know, 5-6 years. What I've learned about myself is that, number one, you got to pick your battles. Okay, not everything is worth a response. Okay, not everything is worth a response. Pick your battles. Number two, I learned I love myself. I spent 20 years thinking there was something wrong with me. 20 years trying to figure out what's wrong with me, what is wrong with me, what is wrong with me, why this is continuing to happen. It's not me. Okay, I have my issues, yes, that I work on, but there's nothing wrong with me. Number three, my son's father, or my kid's father, he has been in jail, I think 3 times since this happened for battery to me. And I wasn't even living with him at the time, but what happened, he would come to my house drunk or high or whatever. He would come to my house, kick my door in, he'd, you know, do these things. And I'd be afraid to call the police. I don't know why. I'd just be afraid to call the police. So I just dealt with it. But finally got to the point where I was strong enough to say, hey, enough is enough. And you're either going to stop it or you're going to go to jail. And he stopped it. And we don't really communicate anymore. I don't have to talk to him because my kids are grown now. We don't really communicate too much anymore. And I just learned that sometimes no response is the best response. And I learned to walk away from, even with my kids. I mean, they're teenagers. They drive me crazy sometimes. But I've learned that, you know, I don't always have to be in control of everything. Sometimes you just got to let it go. Let go and let God is what I've learned. I've learned that God
Thank you, Ms. Malone. I don't want to cut you off, but I want to make sure that we get to any questions.
Sorry.
So I'll pause you there, okay?
Okay.
Board members, questions for Ms. Malone? Judge Connors.
Good morning, Ms. Malone.
Good
Ms.
morning.
Malone, I understand your description of what happened. You make it sound like it was an accident, that you, in trying to scare him, got a little too close to the edge of the road. What I'm concerned about is the criminal complaint has you, according to other witnesses, not the victim, has you hitting him 3 or more times, running over him 3 or more times, like backing up and hitting him,
No.
kind of thing. Well, just wait. And also, your language of saying that you wanted to kill him, or words to that effect.
No, I said he said that to me.
Okay. And what about the witnesses who say you backed up and ran over him again?
I'm just going to be honest with you with that. Everything happened so fast that I don't know. That may be as well what happened. That may very well be what happened. But to be honest, everything happened really, really fast. And I know that yes, I backed up and I hit the gas, and I backed up and I hit the gas, but I didn't think that I hit him. I didn't think I hit him at the time. I didn't. But then when I saw him on the ground, I must have. I'm not minimizing it. I just want you to know, like, I just want to clarify, I'm not minimizing at all. Like, I take full responsibility for my behavior that day, where I very well I should have left. I should have just left. I should have not have done anything. I should have left. I'm sorry. I
Okay.
really.
You've answered it. Thank you.
Okay. Sorry.
Thank you. That's all right.
Any other questions for Ms. Malone? All right, thank you so much, Ms. Malone. We do have your full application, which I promise you we have all reviewed. So thank you very much for your time this morning, and for sharing your story with us.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next applicant is Todd Radell. Mr. Radell, I may be mispronouncing your name. Are you able to hear us? There we are.
Yeah, that's radical.
Radell, okay. Thank you, Mr. Radell. We'll turn it over to you.
All right. My name's Todd Radell, 54. I live in Oconomowoc, Wisconsin. In 1993, I was convicted of, 93, 94, convicted of selling marijuana in excess of grams over, and I apologize. I have 2 counter surfers, and I had stuck some paperwork underneath a loaf of bread, and these 2 German Shepherds ripped up some of my, I know it's like an old story, but they ripped up some of my dates and times that I got down. But in 93, 94, I was convicted for selling marijuana. I had a roommate at the time, and we lived together at 911 Carlton Place in Waukesha. We basically got into selling marijuana to accommodate our use of marijuana. We both had jobs. We didn't do it to get rich or anything like that. I had never sold marijuana ever. I had used it. And then I had a roommate leave. Mark Lorenz left. He had a girlfriend he was getting married to, and I asked my other roommate to move in with me. And then we got into it here or there. We got set up, got busted. I did 45 days in jail, 3-year state prison sentence if I didn't get in any trouble, 3 years probation, which I completed 100%. I think his name was Bernie, I can't remember it. I had it written down. From that time, I kicked myself in the rear because there was so much things I had ahead of me that I could have done, and I couldn't do it. So from the time I was in probation, I went to a company called Stock Lumber Building Supply. I said I had to start off on the bottom of the pole, get out of construction where a bunch of alcohol and drugs were back then in the 90s. So I started at this company, and it was the best thing. It changed my life from there on. I worked at that company for 13 years. I started at the bottom. I came up to the top to be third in charge of a $33 million operation. Had 20 people underneath my belt. I was the safety guy. I was the trainer for truck driving. They taught me a lot. I learned self-respect. In that time, I had bought my house because of that. I met my first wife through that company. We separated in 2001. It was a good separation. I paid her college off. I got to keep the house. So I've had the house since 2001. Shortly after that, in 2005, I met Cheryl, which is the mother to my kids. At that time, I wasn't planning on kids. I was all about making money and making up for time lost. Well, she was big in the community with the police in Oconomowoc, and she was a firefighter paramedic. So from there on, that's what my life was directed around, was that community and those group of people. I live next door to the assistant retired fire chief now for 22 years. I volunteered a lot of time when she was living here as my girlfriend with the fire department, with pancake breakfasts and other events downtown Oconomowoc. Shortly after that, I had these 2 beautiful kids. And when I had these 2 beautiful kids, I had the first one. I was surprised in itself. Then I was in panic mode because here I'm still this guy that's working, but I'm still, in my book, a loser. No high school diploma. This job, the stock lumber job, had died off. They had given me a severance pay, and I moved back into construction. So now what do? I'm having kids. So what do? I get back into the reality of life, and I go get my high school diploma because I can't preach to my kids about something that I don't have. I get it. I show them it. I say, this is what Dad did. This is the result of being a troubled youth. In the time that happened, my kids had started asking me about trap shooting events that they wanted to get into in 6th grade, blah, blah, blah. During that little event, I felt now the questions are going to start coming, what Dad's life was when he was younger. So I felt I was going to have to man up and tell them at a young age why I can't be involved in some of their events and whatnot. So I explained it to them. During that time, I had the opportunity to buy a Schneider Pretzel franchise. I bought this franchise and I worked at it for the last 13 years. And during that time, I've given back to the community in the average of Feeding America of about $7,000 a year. I donate a lot of my time, free time if I get it, to Cornerstone Church for the elderly to offer my handyman services for free because they don't have the income to do it. I've dedicated my life to helping the community. I don't drink alcohol. I haven't touched alcohol in the last 7 years, no drugs. I'm still active out here in Oconomowoc. My son and daughter are such big trap shooters. My son took 3rd in state and 38th in the nation. And there's so many events for me to get involved with them, but I can't, being a felon. So I believe that my crime was very bad. Back in the day, being busted for selling drugs was looked down upon. I was shunned from my family for a while. I grew up my family owned a bar, Wonderland Tap. So it was a bad situation from the get-go. I've grown from there. I've trained in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu for the last 4 years. I've actually trained the little guys on and off here and there. And I think that might be my next calling in the next 10 years after I retire from everything, is to train kids and retire in that fashion. I believe that...
Mr. Radell, I don't want to cut you off too much, but could you just briefly state, I think you were getting to why you're seeking a pardon, and then I want to make sure we get to questions.
Yep. The reason I'm seeking a pardon and the only reason is because of the events with my kids. I'm out of them so much because of the guns and everything involved. I go to some of their events, but they want me to join in father, daughter, son shoots and stuff. And that's basically the reason I'm asking for a pardon, to get those rights back. And that's what I'm asking for. And I do apologize to the community of Waukesha for selling drugs in it. I look down on it, and everybody looks up to me nowadays in this community. So that's the way I want to go out. Thank you for your time.
Of course. I have 1 or 2 questions before I open it up to everyone else. You have a harassment restraining order from 2004, and you spoke to that a little bit in your application. But could you just tell us a little bit about what was happening there?
Yes, that was with my wife, my first wife, and I caught Roger. I forget his last name, Clemens, I think it was. Him and her together. So I was quite heat of the moment, and I threatened to kick his ass. So he went and got a restraining order against me. The day that he got that restraining order against me, I went to court. I was in the courthouse with him, and that's not me. I don't threaten nobody. I don't start fights. Walking down the stairs, I said, "Excuse me, Roger, that's not me. I apologize. You'll never have to worry about me." And we actually shook hands at the Waukesha County Courthouse as we walked down the stairs of the courthouse. I'd never seen him again, never talked to him again, and there was never an issue between me and Lisa about the situation again. Like I said, we went off on a good note, me and Lisa.
Okay, and to be clear, there was not a physical altercation. The restraining order was granted based on the threats. Okay,
Yes, ma'am.
thank you. Other board members, questions for Mr. Radical? Jerry?
Mr. Radical, why have you had a gun deer hunting license?
When I've bought a gun deer hunting license, probably, I don't know, 4 out of 5 years, because you're allowed to use your crossbow with the gun deer hunting license.
Okay, I get that. Thanks.
Yes, sir.
Other questions from the board? Just one last thing I want to make sure that we cover. You had an arrest in 2001 that was not prosecuted for a third-degree sexual assault charge. Can you just tell us a little bit about what happened there?
That was kind of a situation that was almost like the one I was in with Roger. That was Barb Kaufman and Ben Kaufman. And I slept with his wife, and he got mad and called the cops, and that's where it went. I mean, me and Barb are still friends to this date on Facebook, and that's it. We actually even went out a couple of years after that when she moved out to Jefferson, down the road from me.
Okay. Okay, so she was not the reporting victim in that case, and that's why it wasn't prosecuted. Is that right?
No, there was nothing that come out of it.
Okay. Great. Any other questions from board members? Great. Thank you very much, Mr. Radical. I think that covers it. Appreciate your time this morning and hope you enjoy the rest of your day.
I appreciate you guys' time, and I really hope you guys have a great weekend.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you. Bye.
Okay. Our next applicant is Daryl Armstrong. Mr. Armstrong, I see you in the Zoom when we're ready to turn it over to you.
Okay, yes, I'm waiting for the video to start.
Sounds good.
Video.
There we are.
Okay, how you doing?
Great.
Okay, I'll keep it pretty precise. I wrote down notes. Good morning, board members. My name, of course, is Daryl Armstrong. Currently 41 years old. I was 18 at 2001 when I was convicted of Class U felony, party to crime, possession with intent to deliver and manufacture less than 500 grams of THC. The process of the crime committed was a friend of mine who's attached to the case for trafficking presented to me that a woman that he met at the corner store wanted to purchase marijuana. Having marijuana for consumption, myself, and as well as opportunity for profit. I sold her a amount of a dime bag of marijuana. In exchange, she gave me $10 in exchange, and within a matter of minutes, I was arrested. After pleading guilty, I was sentenced to 9 months house correction with Hoover Law, where I worked and was on house arrest for the entire time. Later on in 2004, I was issued a warrant for failure to finish paying the court fees for the same case. Of course, I was arrested, paid the fee that day, and I was released later on that morning. The final thing that's tied to my record was a restraining order in 2010. This was a domestic situation where I was assaulted by a former partner, and my property was damaged. She stabbed my tires. I called the police. She was arrested and charged. I filed a no contact order against her. After she got out, found out I filed one against her. She went in and filed one against me, made accusations that I assaulted her without being arrested or charged. They allowed her to place the same on me. So I guess to mediate it, they just let us place it on each other. Let me see, since my conviction, actually, right after 2001, I got custody of my daughter in 2002. And I raised her up to the age of 24 now. I became an electrician in 2006, did that 2008. I got laid off because of my availability. They wanted me to work 12 plus hours, and because I had my daughter, I was unable to do so. So they laid me off. After having a hard time finding employment for a little bit, let me see. I found employment from on-the-job training in 2011 at a paint company, Henson Coating. Stayed there for 10 years, over 10 years actually, as well as being an independent contractor. Eventually, I lost that job. I got into an accident and had a rotator cuff surgery. The recovery lasted too long past the time that they allowed, so I was eventually released. After being medically released from my doctor, I continued to be an independent contractor full-time. That was last year. I did that full-time. I was able to, actually last year, I started my business as well, formed my business. Pretty much working all the way through. I was able to finance for my business now. And I purchased equipment, so I'm starting to scale at my business now. That's what I'm currently doing. Community involvement. I've been a part of multiple breast cancer walks, as well as back to school activity. The back to school events where we cooked and donated food and supplies, pretty much. I've also been a volunteer canvasser for elections, and I look forward to doing so in the near future. With education, along with having a diploma for electricity. I also attained my bachelor's degree in science of management in 2001. My biggest accomplishment, of course, is my daughter. I got custody of her very young, as being a young guy. She helped me grow up. She made me grow up, had no choice. Being a single parent made me have a lot of responsibilities, and I had to show her the right things to do. Very proud of her. I've been able to watch her grow up, finish high school. She's 24 now, and she accomplished her degree in animation. So I'm very proud of her. That's my biggest accomplishment. The reason why I'm seeking a pardon is because I've been a very responsible citizen the past 22 years. I haven't got back in trouble. This is my second application, and since my charge, I've made sure to stay clear from trouble. Make sure I haven't continued my past mistakes and stayed a positive motivation in my daughter's life. And really, I want to show her that people do make mistakes. And after putting hard work in and being dedicated, eventually you can be forgiven for it. She forgives me. She knows everything I did, all my mistakes. I just want to stay being a positive motivation in her life. Also, I would like to take parts in multiple public service opportunities, such as Notary Republic, signing agent, and get into real estate.
Thank you, Mr. Armstrong. Appreciate that. Questions from the board? Jerry.
Mr. Armstrong, the Milwaukee County judge and the Milwaukee County DA who reviewed your application both support your application for a pardon. How does that make you feel?
I'm ecstatic. I appreciate it.
Any other questions for Mr. Armstrong?
No, not at all. I appreciate your time.
Thank you, Mr. Armstrong. Thanks for being with us this morning, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you. You too. Thank you.
Our next applicant is Christopher Christian. Mr. Christian, we're ready to turn it over to you.
Give me 1 minute. Good.
There we go.
Thank you. Good morning. Very, very nervous. Like talking like this. I'm kind of seeking a pardon for a felony I did 30 years ago. I went to a party. I was 18 years old with some friends. Ended up at a camp, I don't know, it's an old boat landing. We had a bonfire, drinking some beers, and a bunch of the guys left and went down to a bunch of cabins. I didn't know what they were doing. I was just sitting there drinking with my friends, and after a while, I went down there and walked into this house, which I know at the time I didn't realize it, but I knew it was wrong. I walked inside and seen these guys breaking doors and windows and smashing stuff. I picked up a flashlight, looked around to see what they're doing, and I'm like, I'm out of here. So I went back. It was like a couple weeks later. Cops got all involved and called us all into the city police station and asked all these questions. And I didn't think I was really in that much trouble because I knew what I did was wrong, but I said I just walked into the house. I didn't break nothing. I didn't wreck nothing. I just went in. So got all the statements from us. I told them absolutely the truth. I said, it's been 30 years now, and I have no reason to lie about it. I knew I was in the wrong, but I walked in. So I just told them what happened, and come to find out all the people that were involved in this incident said that I was in the house smashing windows, smashing doors, and I didn't know this for a long time. They all threw me right under the bus. So they just accused me of everything. That they knew I'd been in trouble with the law back in that day, so they just throw it off on me. And I sat in jail for 8 months. I think I got 2 years probation. I did all that. I just did my stuff, and I got out. I just lived my life like I am now. I mean, working, paying my bills, and taking care of stuff, and staying out of trouble. I don't know how to speak. That's very nervous. Since then, I've been working, having good jobs. Just, the pardons hold me back from a lot of jobs because you can't. As soon as they hear you got a felony on your record, they get nervous about it, and burglary, stealing. So they think I stole and did all this other stuff, and I really didn't. I just got. I've been married for 9 years. I have a wife with 4 kids. We do everything together. We hunt, we fish. Well, I go with them. I don't get to hunt because of the guns. My kids all love hunting. My jobs, I've had asphalt companies. I did seal coating. Now I work at a steel factory, driving forklift. We're involved with all our kids go to a Manual Lutheran school, so we're always at church with the kids and all their church functions, singing in church all the time. The reasons really why I would like the pardon is it's holding me back from jobs, my limitations. I'm just going to become a grandfather, so I'd like to take my daughters hunting and do stuff with them. Kids all have field trips, so now I'm limited. I can't go on field trips to chaperone field trips because they won't allow me. What else I got here? Our family enjoys the outdoors. We go antique shopping. I lost a picture. We go antique shopping. I collect antique fishing lures for the last 10 years. Our kids all went through hunter safety courses, and my wife don't know a lot about hunting. I've been hunting my whole life when I was younger, so I learned a lot. And I go to hunter safety with them, and I can't interact with none of the kids and help them out. I'm 50 years old. I'm staying out of trouble. I have a good job. I don't know. That's kind of about it. I don't know how else to say anything else. Thank you very much for listening to what I have to say.
Thank you, Mr. Christian. That's perfect. Let's turn
I can't hear you at all.
it over to the board members.
I can't hear them at all.
Oh, I apologize. Can you hear me?
Now I can.
Okay.
It's breaking up. I can't hear you again. You're frozen up right now.
Mel, you look like you're frozen.
Okay, I can see you.
Well, we'll wait till our chair gets back on.
Okay.
She logged off and is logging back on, it looks like.
Good.
I apologize about this, Christian.
No problem.
My internet is unstable and I got booted.
I have a question.
If you have any questions, easier for me to answer questions.
Judge Cremers.
So, Mr. Christian, it looks like you've had, let's see, harassment restraining order in 2011, a domestic violence conviction in 2000, another one in 2001, and another one in 2003. What's all that about?
The 2000, I don't know for sure. I don't remember. 2001 was, 11 was, I went through a divorce.
2011, sorry.
Yeah, I went through a divorce with my ex-wife, and I was working at a restaurant / tavern being a cook, and my ex-wife and her father and mother came in, and she walks in with some other guy, and she's been cheating on me with for, I don't know, 6 months or so. Just lost my cool. I mean, there was nobody really got hurt. Then they just threw a restraining order on me for 4 years, and I didn't go near them. We actually talked. What was that?
What about the convictions for criminal behavior, disorderly conduct, and domestic violence related, and a battery conviction in 2000 and 2001, and then another one in 2003?
I was still hanging around with the wrong crowd of guys, and just bad, angry time of my life. And now I don't do anything anymore. We hunt, we fish, we go antique shopping.
Who was the victim? Who was the victim in those batteries? Was it your wife?
No. I think it was just guys, not guys with arguments.
It's domestic violence, sir.
There was my daughter's mother. We had one domestic charge, but I don't remember what it was about. I never hurt her. I was pushing, shoving in the house, probably.
All right. In 2000 and, when you were released, you owed $3,400 in restitution. Has that been paid off?
Yes, all my restitution paid off. I did all my probation. I did anger management. All my restitution have been paid off. I've been
anger management or batter's treatment?
No, just anger management, I think it was.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Cindy.
I want to go back to the restitution, sir. It looks like you were ordered to pay, as the judge said, about $3,400 in restitution. You're on probation for 3 years, and it doesn't look like you paid a penny during the 3 years on probation. Why not?
What was that for? The restitution?
For the damage that the group caused to that family's home.
They took my taxes. They garnished my taxes for all that. Like
That's
5
what
years
I'm asking
ago.
though. You're on probation for 3 years. Did you make any payments towards the restitution when you were on probation? You didn't. I'm asking you why not.
I don't remember. I don't owe nobody nothing. There was a lot of other people involved, so I would be lying if I said what I don't know.
Okay, thank you.
30 years ago.
Any other questions for Mr. Christian? All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Christian. I appreciate your time this morning and hope you enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Our next applicant is Michelle Williams. Ms. Williams, do we have you on the Zoom with us? Ms. Williams, I'm not seeing a square with your name. If you are one of the unnamed folks, please let us know by coming off mute. All right, we will come back to Ms. Williams if we get her later. Our next applicant is Christopher Kipp. Mr. Kipp, I know I saw you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Okay. Well, thanks for this opportunity. Appreciate everyone's time today. So the reason I'm here today is back in 2005, when I was 18 years old, I was convicted with possession and intent to deliver less than 200 grams of marijuana, a party to a crime, which was a Class I felony. So how did I get into that situation? I was starting to go into college. I was going to MSOE, Didn't have a lot of financial assistance from my parents. And I was trying to figure out how I was going to afford the tuition, even though I started working really young at 15 as soon as I could. I worked on cars on the side as a hobby and to make extra money. And I maintained good grades so that I was eligible for scholarships. And even with that partial scholarship, I still didn't have enough really to afford the whole tuition. So one day I was talking to my cousin about this, and he said the cousin on the other side of his family was selling marijuana to make extra money. And something I never really done or experimented with, and I didn't know those kinds of people, but I foolishly took him up on the idea. It seemed like a way to make extra money. So one day someone called asking for 4 ounces, which is a lot to me. I'd never been around that much or seen that much. So my cousin's cousin came with me to sell this to the person who called me. So he had the marijuana in the car, and when the buyer and his friends came to the car and they asked to see the drugs, we asked to see the money, and this went back and forth a couple times. They didn't have the money for it. They were trying to steal this, so the buyers actually pulled out a gun, and my life flashed before my eyes, and trying to figure out how I got myself in this situation, and regretted everything up to that point immediately. And what I didn't know is my cousin's cousin also had a gun, and he fired back first to prevent the situation from, I guess, from the buyer shooting us, right? So the buyer ran off back inside with his friends, and we drove away. And I was just in complete shock and disarray. I never seen a gun before in my life. I'd never seen this many drugs. The last time I saw a gun was a rifle merit badge class in the Boy Scouts. Right? So this was a world that I realized I had no business being in, and it just regretted it every day since. So ultimately, I was sentenced to 60 days in the House of Corrections and 5 years probation. I did 45 days in House of Corrections for good behavior, and then discharged early from probation after about 3.5 years for that same reason. So as the conviction was taking place, I was actually in college. Luckily, through the work release in the House of Corrections, I was able to maintain my education. And I still graduated on time with a mechanical engineering degree in 2009. I had multiple jobs throughout college, internships, just to be able to afford college. So I stayed busy and out of trouble there. So since I graduated, I've worked for the same company for the past 14 years. I started in a kind of entry-level engineering position, and now I'm in upper-level management. Also completed my MBA from UW-Madison in 2018. Got married in 2019. We had our first child in 2023 and are expecting our second one in less than 2 months. As far as community involvement, some fundraising runs to support different causes, and then also volunteering through local schools with my company. We cleaned up landscaping, did painting, helped move some schools. So every year there's a couple opportunities for that. So I try to stay involved as much as I can. But they also have some opportunities to go talk to the students about STEM fields and engineering, since that's the field that our business is in. But I sit out of those because I don't know what my background might bring up being around kids. I never thought of that as a barrier, but I came across that issue, and it's made me think even more about the future and what other roadblocks might be. And I think we heard a couple other people talk about not being able to chaperone with kids. And now that I have 2 daughters, that really hits home for me. So that kind of segues into the third reason why I'm asking for the pardon. I hope that I earned the right to a pardon. I don't think anyone just deserves it, but I hope I earned it. Learn from my mistakes and just try to be a positive influence in the world. Yeah, there's job events that I've had to skip, or applications that I've been skipped over for, but really just want to be present for my daughters. They're my world. So if I ever have to skip a trip or skip chaperoning or not be the best father figure I could because of my past, I mean, that's just that'll tear me apart. So it's a mistake I made 20 years ago. Take full responsibility. Dumb actions. Never anything along those lines happened again. It's try to learn and grow and move on from that. But just any opportunities missed for my daughter. That's why I'm seeking the pardon. So greatly thanks for the time. And if you have any questions, be happy to answer them.
Thank you, Mr. Kipp. Board members, questions for Mr. Kipp? Jerry.
Skip, the Milwaukee County DA's office supports your application for a pardon. How does that make you feel?
The world to me. And I'd like them to know that it's you know, the criminal rehabilitation process is I think it helps, you know, people do bad things, they make mistakes, and they help set people up on the course to improve their lives. And I'd be eternally grateful for this life-changing opportunity. Thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Kipp? All right, thank you very much, Mr. Kipp. Appreciate your time this morning and hope that you enjoy the rest of your day.
Thanks, you too.
Thank you. Our next applicant is David Tulis. Mr. Tulis, are you with us in the Zoom?
Good morning.
Good morning. You're a little quiet.
How are you? Is that better?
That is excellent. And would you say your last name correctly for me, please? I'm sure I'm butchering it.
David Tulis.
Tulis, thank you.
Yep. So I want to thank you guys for giving me this opportunity. I mean, we're talking about something that happened like 45 years ago. And basically what my part in the crime was I drove my friend to his work and he stole some cutting torches. And I went to court and basically pled no contest, not even realizing what that meant at the time. And I accepted the consequences for what I did. And that's why I'm here today, I guess, because I feel that I'm, you know, 65 years old and raised a family. And I don't want to go to my grave being a felon. So that's why I'm asking for a pardon.
Thank you, Mr. Tulis. Questions from the board? Cindy.
Good morning, Mr. Tulis. As part of the application process, applicants are encouraged, it's not required, but encouraged to submit letters of support for their pardon, and you didn't submit any letters of support. Can you tell us why not?
I was not aware that I was supposed to do that. I have very limited education. I do not know how to read or write. I made it through life without letting it be a handicap for me, but some of this, because it's in writing, I didn't even realize it.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Jerry.
Jules, the Washington County District Attorney supports your application for a pardon. How does that make you feel?
I believe it made me feel okay, good. Because I really kind of feel like I got overcharged now at this state in my lifetime. Back then, it was just, I took the responsibility for what I did and accepted it, you know?
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Other questions for Mr. Tulis? No. All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Tulis. Appreciate your time this morning and for sharing your story with the board. And hope you enjoy the rest of your day.
All right. Thank you very much. Have a good day.
Thank you. All right. I have not seen Ms. Williams pop into the Zoom, but just want to do one more check. Michelle Williams, if you're with us. No. Okay. Our last applicant of the first morning block then is William Stanley. Mr. Stanley, I know I've seen you.
I'm trying.
There we go.
All right. Good morning. Thank you all for being here and giving all of us a chance to get a pardon. I tried to do this under the last governor, and he didn't even have a board. So I'm very grateful for Governor Evers. My story goes back before my conviction. I got out of the Marine Corps in 1979 and went through a bad divorce. My wife at the time had an 8th grade education. I had a high school education, honorable discharge from the Marine Corps, and the court gave her custody of my 2 small boys. And that turned me very bitter. And I turned to alcohol and drugs to escape. And I stayed intoxicated, and you'll see the disorderly conducts for fisticuffing in the bars that was common up here in the Northwoods at that time. And I was in a great deal of those. And 1982, I got into recovery. An attorney directed me. He said, "You're not a bad guy. You got a drinking problem, buddy. Go to AA and get some help." So I did. And I stayed sober for 14 years. In 1988, I was approached up here in Leona by the administrator to help start the DARE program in the high school. And I got certified to teach and started that program. And I lived between Texas and Wisconsin in those years. And I moved back to Texas in 90, and I started going to church instead of my 12-step program. And 96, I forgot that I was an alcoholic. I picked up a drink. I've stayed drunk for over 20 years and intoxicated. And excuse me, man. And I went through heck there. That when I picked up that drink, I ended up divorced from the best wife I had for over 10 years. That we never had a fight. I lost my hair salons. I started selling marijuana. I ended up incarcerated. Through that incarceration in my court case, I shook the hand of the arresting officer who later became sheriff of Forest County, and I told him, "No hard feelings. You did your job. You did it well." I went to prison. I got out, and I was going to file an appeal, and I went in front of Judge Mangerson. And Judge Mangerson informed me that he would step down from the bench and try me, and I would end up doing 30 years, or I could take my life, walk out a free man, and get on with life, which I did. I went into truck driving, and I started into the field of disaster relief cleanup in the South for hurricanes, tornadoes, and for over 20 years, I helped Americans clean up after those disasters. Very rewarding job. Quite proud of doing that work. I have a fine, I think, from that conviction, and I looked at it through my networking. In college. I learned to keep track of the people I met in business that it would come back and help me, and I did that. And I brought work to the DTAC Corporation out in New London, and I helped manage jobs that brought millions of tax dollars back into the state of Wisconsin for them and for Jamie Flannery Trucking out of Crandon, Wisconsin. 3 years ago, a woman came into my life, moved in with me, and it was during COVID, and she was in the recovery program. And well, I got back involved with recovery. I started 3 AA meetings in my area, and sorry, I get a little emotional. My recovery is very emotional to me. I'm very grateful to be back where I'm at. Anyhow, I have plans. I started a LLC for a Rebels Club in Leona here, and I bought a bar. Every alcoholic wants a bar when we're using, so I did. It needed a lot of work, but I have an attorney, Bob Kennedy, working on a 501c. I've contacted some of our state representatives with my plans to open up a Rebels Club with housing for people coming out of treatment centers, mainly men, because we have 2 places for women to go, battered shelters, but we have no place for men. They have to go back into their own environment. And that's my main objective, that and sponsoring other people in recovery. I've done that with a couple people. That's where I'm at today. As far as my incarceration, I really don't regret my mistakes. I learned more from my mistakes than I did my successes. And I made a mistake, a poor judgment. I made many of them when I was under the influence of alcohol, and that was one. I don't blame anybody but myself. I take full responsibility for the poor decisions that I've made. But I'm friends with the sheriff over here, and my son's a Forest County deputy. I have two grandsons. I would like to go hunting with them, I guess, but in the
Oh, Mr. Stanley, I think you muted yourself.
can you hear me?
Yep, there we go. And if you could just take another 30 seconds or
Can't
so
hear
to wrap
you.
up, I want to make sure we get to questions.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I can't hear you. I'm sorry. My ringing. Maybe that's why someone call in.
How about now? Can you hear me?
Oh, sorry. Okay, I can stop answer questions at this time. When I drink, I mess up. I guess this is my final thing, and I'm proud to be sober today and helping other people.
Thank you, Mr. Stanley. Questions, Noble.
Good morning, Mr. Stanley. Just a little curious, the conversation you had with the judge. I wasn't sure if I heard everything correctly. Could you go over that again?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
I had a very good case for an appeal, he said, and it was eloquently written. And he said, Mr. Stanley, if you go through with this appeal, I'm stepping down from the chair and I'm going to be your prosecutor, and I'm putting every enhancer on, and you will do 30 years in prison. Or you can walk out the door and get on with your life. And I respected Judge Mangerson and his knowledge, and I did not want to face him. I went on with my life and went out there and did good, helping people clean up after hurricanes and stuff, and retired and got sober, and now I'm just moving on again, trying to do something good for this community.
So he had a major impact in just that moment in your life.
I feared him. He was a very intelligent, convincing man to move on with my life and just go back out there and forget fighting. I was resentful towards the government from my divorce, and I did not like that authority and what had happened in the past, I think, but he overcame that. He was a hell of a man. No other way to say it. He was very impacting, yes.
Thank you very much.
Any other questions for Mr. Stanley? All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Stanley. I appreciate your time this morning and hope you enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you. And then I will do one last call for Michelle Williams. Miss Williams, do we have you on the Zoom? Okay, we've not been able to reach her, so I think we will need to reschedule her. That concludes the first morning section. In order to stay compliant with our open meetings notice, we are going to take a brief break now. Board members, I'll ask you to be back on camera at about 9:59 so we can get started right at 10 o'clock with our next group of applicants. I know I see some of you in the Zoom already. We will be back right at 10 o'clock to get started with our next set of applicants. Thank you. All right, we're just going to make sure that we have all our board members back before we get started with our second morning group. There's Jerry. All right. Cindy and Noble, when you're back, you'll just turn on your camera so I know that you're here. There's Cindy. Right.
Hello?
Hello, we're just waiting for a moment to get started with our second morning session here. All right, I think while we were waiting for our last board member to join us, I'm just going to quickly introduce us all and go through very quick housekeeping items. My name is Mel Barnes. I'm Chief Legal Counsel to Governor Evers and a member of the Pardon Advisory Board. With me today on the Zoom, we have other board members, Judge Jeffrey Kremers, who is Attorney General Josh Call's nominee to this board. Judge Kremers was a Milwaukee County Circuit Court judge for 26 years before retiring in 2018 and served as chief judge for 7 of those years. We also have board member Reverend Jerry Hancock, who is the director of the Prison Ministry Project and is a former public defender and deputy district attorney. We have board member Cindy O'Donnell, who served as the deputy secretary for the Department of Corrections under Governors Thompson, McCallum, and Doyle, as well as working for Attorneys General Lautenschlager and Van Hollen. And we have board member Noble Ray, who is a former chief of police from the Madison Police Department, where he served for almost 28 years and as chief from 2004 to 2013. We are going to go ahead and get started hearing from our second group of morning applicants in just a moment here. Before we do, I just want to remind our applicants that today's hearing is being live streamed. We are going to ask you to keep yourself muted and your camera off until the board is ready to hear from you so that we can focus on the person who's speaking and hear them clearly. If you do run into any IT issues, don't worry. Someone from my team will reach out and help you troubleshoot so that we can get you up and running. And then each person will have about 5 minutes to share their story with the board. We'll ask you to spend the first 3 minutes of that time answering the questions that you were sent in advance. And then we will open it up and see if board members have any questions for you. So as a reminder, the first 3 questions that you'll be speaking to, which were sent in advance, are giving us a brief summary of the offense that you're seeking a pardon for and how your sentence went. As a reminder, we're not here to retry the crime. This is not a criminal court, so we're not looking for you to minimize your involvement. We just want to hear about what happened and your part in it. Second item is a brief summary of what you've done since the completion of your sentence, where your life is at now, and how things are different. That might include talking about employment or community involvement. And then the third item is just a brief statement about why you're seeking a pardon and why you think the governor should grant you one. Once you speak to those 3 things, we'll open it up to questions from the board. There may or may not be questions. Sometimes everything's covered in your application and your presentation, but we do want to make sure we get to questions. So I will try to gently cut you off and make time for those if you're going a little bit long. Once everyone has been heard, the board will meet in closed session and decide whether or not to recommend your application to the governor for a pardon. You need majority support of the board members present in order for your application to be sent on to the governor, and he will make the final decision about rejecting or granting your application. Either way, you'll hear about the outcome of today's hearing in about a month or 2, and someone from my office will reach out to you about that. We know that you've been patient, even just waiting to get to this hearing today. So we thank you for giving us just a little bit more patience with getting back to you about the final result. We do take these very seriously and want to make sure that we are giving appropriate recommendations to the governor. So with that, we will go ahead and get started with our second morning group. Our first applicant is Deborah Palm. Ms. Palm, I know that I saw you in the Zoom, so if you're ready to turn your camera on, we will turn it over to you.
Hello?
Good morning.
Oh, I was worried this wouldn't work. Okay. Hi, I'm Deborah Palm, and I appreciate the opportunity to appear before you. I did apply for a pardon during Scott Walker's term, and of course, he wasn't doing any at the time. In 2006, I was convicted of manufacturing, distributing THC under 200 grams. And what happened was I allowed my son and his friend, they were both 15 at the time, to smoke cannabis in my home. They would have gone to the park a couple blocks away, but there had been a recent shooting, like a half a block from there, and I thought it was safer for them to stay in my house. I had been a teacher at the time, so I don't know what I was thinking. It was really poor judgment, and I did have a big problem with alcohol back then. I was active alcoholic, which was a contributing factor, but I take full responsibility for what I did, and I have never stopped regretting it. As far as sentencing, the hardest part, the greatest loss was them taking my teaching license, because I worked really hard later in life to get it. I was 50 at the time. I attended AODA counseling. I had to do random drug tests. I was in the community correction center for 90 days. And then I was given 5 years probation. I did get off early due to compliance. After the correction center, I was on a form of house arrest where I had to keep track of all the times in a notebook that I left the house, or that I wasn't near the phone in case they called me. I did attend a 12-step program for 12 of the last 19 years. I ran and chaired the meetings for several years. I was a treasurer for a number of years, and I helped the other addicts and alcoholics with support. I've had employment. I did have trouble finding employment because of the felony. I did get a job at PetSmart. I believe it was 2006 as a cashier, and they did promote me to a support manager. I heard from my manager before they approved me for that someone above her said, "Do you know what kind of person you hired?" Meaning me, because they looked at my record. So I filed a discrimination because it was not directly related to my crime, and they gave me back pay and promoted me. So the only reason I left there was because the company was bought out and they eliminated my position. So then it took about a year before I got my current job at Home Depot, where I work part-time as a cashier. I'm active in my church, and I'm learning Spanish and spending time with my grandchildren. The reason that I would like a pardon is I would like to get back to working with special needs children and adults. I would like to start a respite service. I've had several people that I've talked to that wanted to hire me to work with their adult autistic kids so they could go out shopping or whatever. And the one lady was a lawyer who was going to do some kind of background check, so I didn't go through with it because I was afraid. I did apply at MPS before I started working at Home Depot, and I appeared before the principal and a panel of teachers and counselors, and I told them the whole story of what happened with the crime. And I thought I said, I'm going to be honest with you, this is what happened. And the principal called me and said she wanted to hire me, but the board would not let her because of my felony. And if I would have had a pardon, I probably could have gotten hired. So that's how I ended up at Home Depot. So I could get back as a paraprofessional in a special needs room. I wouldn't teach anymore, but I did have a gift working with these kids. Also, this might seem frivolous, but our family wants to go on an Alaskan cruise, and Canada won't let anybody in if they're a felon. And so I'm afraid that that always stops one day in Canada. So we haven't planned that, and I thought if I have a felony and I bring a pardon, I can bring the papers with me, and maybe they won't send me home on a plane or whatever they do. The other thing is that it's just a weight on me, and it affects my mental health, having this hanging over my head. I mean, I'm going to be 70 this year, and I would like to be free of this black cloud as I enter the last couple decades of my life. The only good thing that came from this whole terrible event was I stopped drinking in 2005, and I will be sober 19 years in October.
Thank you, Ms. Palm.
Yeah.
I think that covers a lot of it, but I wanted to make sure that we don't have questions from other board members. Board members, questions? Jerry.
Ms. Plum, the Milwaukee County District Attorney's Office supports your application for a pardon. How does that make you feel?
It makes me feel so happy and relieved. I can't believe it. I'm very grateful to him.
Thank you.
Other questions for Ms. Palm? All right, well, congratulations on your sobriety, Ms. Palm, and thank you for your time this morning.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. I hope you enjoy the rest of your morning.
Okay, bye.
Our next applicant is Jeffrey Ramsay. Mr. Ramsay, I believe I saw you in the Zoom already. There we are.
Can you hear me too?
Sure can.
All right, I'm a little nervous today, so I wrote some things down. So I'm just going to read from what I wrote down. First of all, thank you everyone for taking the time to listen to my request for a pardon. In 1992, I pled guilty to delivery of THC, in which I was sentenced to 6 months in jail and 3 years probation. While I was incarcerated, I had a hard time finding a job, and I spent most of the time in the block where I would basically had time to think about my life and how I was going to change things around. After my release, I went back home and I was able to find a job and set up my probation. But things at home weren't working out for me really. So I ended up losing my job due to transportation issues, and I had to relocate to Kenosha County, which is where I spent the rest of my probationary time. Towards the end of my probationary time, I was having financial problems. I was fighting for custody of my son and had legal obligations there, and I was unable to pay all my fines. I asked for a reduction of sentence from my fines. I had to go back to jail and sit up some more time because of the amount of fines I had due to the felony. But then I got off of probation. I got custody of my son. Things were looking pretty good. And I was good for 14 years, even though I had problems finding a job, especially one that would
promote and everything because I had the felony. And in 2006, though, I was pulled over. The officer ran my record and he came back and asked to search the car, which was typical of that time. And I didn't think I had anything to hide as usual. So I told him to go ahead. But in his search, he found a roach in a cigarette pack that belonged to a friend of mine from when we went fishing. I didn't have the money for an attorney at the time, so I had a meeting with the district attorney, and I was always told to take responsibility for my actions, and it was in my car, so I pled guilty to it, and it was a felony because it was considered habitual offense. It was my second offense of having pot. This was a big hit because, I meant a lot to my father that I had been changing my life, and here I'd gotten charged again. And he said, I thought you were staying away from that shit. And so this means a lot to me having this happen. Anyways, so I served out my time for that, and I've been clean ever since. I haven't had any problems. My brief summary of accomplishments since all of this: I raised my son. He graduated from high school. I remarried. I built the house or helped build the house that I'm living in. I've been involved and invested in Project Christmas in my area. I'm disabled right now, so I'm not able to work, but that also gives me time. I help my neighbor because she's elderly. And I'm a member of Arbor State Foundation for the last 15 years. And I've also helped donate it for the state police. The reason I'm asking for this pardon, most of all, is to prove to myself and everybody else that good work, good hard effort, and waiting your time can be effective. I mean, it can be done. You can get the pardon. You can get pardon for your crimes, forgiveness for your mistakes. I don't know what the next stage in my life is going to bring, but I surely know this is going to help getting the pardon. I've had this on my record for a long time. Everybody in the area knows it because we live in a small town, so it's always been a big factor in it. Like I said, I don't know what the next stage of my life is going to bring, but I'm sure a pardon will help. The only other thing is my uncle does live in Canada. I'd like to go see him, but as far as other reasons I want the pardon, it's really just for my family, to prove to them, and my sons, to prove to them that I'm not a bad person. I just made a mistake and I can be forgiven. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ramsay. Board members, does anyone have questions for Mr. Ramsay? Judge Carmers.
A couple of them. In 1997, so in between the two convictions, it looks like you were charged with intimidating a witness and bail jumping. They were dismissed but read in, but I'm not clear what they were read into. So what was going on there in 1997?
Are you sure that's me?
I'm just looking at the records here. I'm not positive it's you.
I don't think it's me. I'm sorry.
Okay.
97, I was in jail. I mean, that you're talking right after my conviction.
Okay. Then there's a picture of you with a dead buck that's supposedly been shot from 2010.
That's bow hunting.
Oh, bow hunting.
And that was
Okay,
bow hunting.
That was my question.
I don't bow hunt anymore because of my disability, but I used to bow hunt back in the day. Yeah.
Okay. All right. That was going to be my question.
Yeah, I quit hunting a long time ago. I still fish once in a while, but I don't hunt anymore.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Ramsay? All right. Thank you very much for your time this morning, Mr. Ramsay. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you. Our next applicant is Stephen Putlocker. Mr. Putlocker, we're ready to hear from you. Mr. Putlocker, do we have you in the Zoom with us? We've got a couple of unlabeled attendees. All right, I don't think so. So we'll try coming back later. And then our next applicant, Dawn Peters, let us know earlier that she was unable to attend today. So we'll get her rescheduled. And our next applicant then is Michael Lilge.
Excuse me, it's Stephen Putlocker. I'm sorry, I couldn't find the unmute button.
Oh, excellent. No problem, Mr. Putlocker. We can hear you. We can't see you. Are you joining us by video or just audio?
Yeah, I'm trying to find, oh, right here. Okay.
Here we are. All right, we'll turn it over to you then.
Hi, I'd like to start off. I apologize. I have to take this meeting in my car, but I'm at my daughter's volleyball tournament out of town right now. So it's either this or the gym. 2006, I was convicted of possession of THC. I was convicted as a felon because I had 2 prior arrests with small amounts of marijuana. I was given 4 months in the county jail, where I completed that in Brown County. While I was in there, I was on Huber. I went to NWTC and got my welding degree. Shortly after that, I got out. I moved to Appleton, where I kind of got roped into something. I gave a friend a ride. They sold marijuana to someone. And 6 months later, I was arrested. I was the only one charged and convicted of party to the crime of delivery of marijuana. Shortly after that, I moved back to Green Bay. I worked at a cheese plant for about 4 years. Then I went and joined the building trades. I'm currently a union heat and frost insulator. I've been doing this a little over 11 years. My 3rd year in the program as an apprentice, I won the local apprenticeship competition and went to the Midwest States competition where I took 2nd. And I've been with them ever since. And that about sums up my felony convictions, my 2.
Thank you, Mr. Putlocker. Let's just see if we have any questions from the board. Board members, any questions? Jerry.
Putlocker, you have a very solid application. You have really good work history, but there's one thing that bothers me about your application, and that is starting in 2021, you have a operating after revocation. You have operating without proof of insurance, operating after revocation again, operating without proof of insurance. We really do expect people who apply for a pardon to be living responsible lives. And those are non-criminal violations, but they do seem pretty irresponsible. Do you have any explanation for that?
I haven't lost my license since I got it. Are you sure that's not my father's? Because we have the same exact name and our birth dates are pretty close.
Oh, well, okay. Do you know if your father's been driving after suspension?
Well, yeah, I hate to admit this, but he's got a pretty lengthy criminal history. And I don't speak to him much very often.
Oh, okay. But you've not had these you've always had a valid license and insurance.
Oh yeah, I have to for my job. I'm in construction. I drive all over the state for work. So I drive company vehicles also, so I have to.
Yeah, okay. Well, good. Thank you for clearing that up.
Yeah, no problem.
Mr. Putlocker, I just want to follow up on that a little bit and just make sure, because not all of these do have dates of birth, so it is very possible some of them are your father. Have you ever been convicted of an OWI?
Yes, in 2003, I believe it was.
Okay, was it just the one?
No, it was two actually. It was one in Outagamie County and one in Brown County.
Okay, so would this 2006 conviction be the second?
Yeah, I don't have it all with me, but that's possible, yes.
Okay. Okay. Other questions from the board? No? All right.
I guess I do have a question.
Yeah.
This is all kind of confusing. Mr. Putlocker, if the 2006 OWI second conviction is yours from Outagamie County, it also says that you were convicted of fourth offense operating while revoked. So at least up till that point in time, you had a number of operating after revocations. Is that correct?
Yeah, yes, sir. My license were revocated twice at 5 times each, so I wasn't eligible to get them until I was 25. And as soon as I actually paid at that OWI, I paid $3,000 just to have my license for a month, and they were going to take them for a year anyway. The judge actually didn't suspend my license because of everything I went through to get my license to only have them a month, and I've kept them ever since.
Okay, so since 2006 or thereabouts, you've had a valid license.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Putlocker? No? All right. Thank you very much for your time today, Mr. Putlocker. Hope you enjoy the rest of your morning.
Thank you, you too.
Thank you. All right. Michael Lilge, Mr. Lilge, do we have you with us in the Zoom? No? All right. We will come back to Mr. Lilge. Nicholas Sopper, Mr. Sopper.
Did we miss Dawn Peters?
Oh, yeah, sorry. I stated that right before we went on. She was unable to attend today, so she let us know she wouldn't be here.
Okay.
Nicholas Sopper?
Yes, ma'am. For some reason, it's not allowing me to give video. It's saying that you have to start your, oh, there we go. Popped up. Perfect. There we go.
Perfect.
All right. So to start off, I got convicted of a felony in 2002. It was manufacturing cocaine, delivering cocaine. I got 5 years in prison, 5 years out of prison. I did get, while I was in there, I got my HSED. I did all the AOD courses. I taught fellow inmates interview skills, resumes, as well as applications. I was an inmate driver the whole entire time I was in there when I got to a minimum facility. I did get out in 2007 after the 5 years. In 2009, I was convicted of a disorderly conduct. I got revoked for that disorderly conduct. There was a no contact order also put on in 2009. I do not know the outcome of that because I did get revoked and I never heard anything about that after. Other than that, in the prison system, that's how that took place. Everything is paid up in the full. Everything was paid directly when I got out of prison. That was the first thing I've done. After I got out, I worked at a car lot in auto sales for about 10 years. In 2019, I moved to Weeki Wachee, Florida. I bought a house and I started a fresh start in Florida. Since I've been here, I got my CDLs. I've been with the same woman for 12 years. We did get married 3 years ago. Don't tell her I don't remember. My nose has been clean ever since I've got out in 2012 after I got revoked. I am 100% paid up on child support. I did that in 2019. I do have 2 daughters, or a daughter and a son with 4 grandkids. The reason I would like my pardon is because it's pretty embarrassing to have a felony put on your record and have it for your whole entire life. I did sell drugs. It was my fault. I did it 100%. The only reason I did it is because I liked easy money. I thought it was the right thing to do and the best thing to do at that time of my life. As of right now, I don't do any of that nature. I have not done anything of that nature since 2012. Actually, take that back, since 2002, but I got out in 2012. So of course, that 10 years I didn't. Since I've been out here in Florida, I've been working. I got my CDLs. I've been a truck driver. I'd like to start a home improvement company and get an LLC. So that is one of the main reasons I would like that wiped off, because when you are going into a customer's house, they do background checks on you. I'm sure they do. Also to get regular jobs. I've only been able to get sales jobs as well as truck driving jobs because they're the only ones that will accept a felon into their workforce. Other than that, I'm kind of open for questions. I'm scared, but I'm open.
Sounds good. Board members, any questions for Mr. Sopper? None? All right, I think you covered it then. Thank you very much for your time today, Mr. Sopper, and hope you enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you. All right, our next applicant is Adrien Levy. Mr. Levy, I believe I saw you. There you are. We'll turn it over to you.
Yes, I'm here. Good morning, everyone. My name is Adrien Levy. I'm here to request a pardon for my felony conviction in December 1998 for possession with intent to deliver crack cocaine. I served 18 months in a state prison, and during my sentence, I was committed to making positive change in my life. Since completing my sentence, I discovered my passion for technology and built a 15-year career in IT, gaining expertise and experience for numerous professional courses, including cloud technology and artificial intelligence. In 2018, I moved from Wisconsin to San Jose, California for an IT and relocation. And now I live in Irving, Texas, where I live in Irving, Texas. I have worked due diligently as a contractor for various companies, though my felony conviction has prevented me from being hired on as a full-time employee. I am also involved in my community, teaching tech to young children here in Irving, Texas, providing technical support and designing e-commerce websites for small businesses and helping grow their digital presence. I now aspire to contribute more to society by pursuing a path in cybersecurity crimes and assisting law enforcement. A pardon would enable me to attain necessary certifications like CJIS and security clearances, and allow me to utilize my skills in preventing crime and protecting others fully. Being pardoned also will have a profound impact on my personal life. It will show that there is always a second chance and allow me to be a great example for my son, teaching him the values and reputation, values and the redemption and perseverance. Thank you for considering my request. I'm committed to continuing my personal and professional growth and making a positive impact in cybersecurity and law enforcement.
Thank you, Mr. Levy. Board members, any questions for Mr. Levy? Judge Kremers.
So my question's, I think, kind of simple. And it's this. Are you asking for a pardon today because you are accepting responsibility for the actions that got you convicted? Or are you asking for a pardon because you feel you were wrongly convicted and this is a way of correcting the way you were mistreated by the criminal justice system?
I still believe
I asked this question because in your response to the crime and in your application, you basically said somebody else put the drugs on your foot or next to your foot or threw them there, and that you were wrongly convicted. So that's why I'm asking.
Yes, I was wrongly convicted. They didn't throw the drugs on my foot. The drugs were dropped there, and I was just happened to be there when the officer came over. So I still protest my innocence, but here we are. I'm still a felon. So
okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, Jerry, I think I saw your hand first.
It's going to be the Milwaukee County District Attorney's Office supports your application for a pardon. How does that make you feel?
I'm very pleased with that. I mean, I've worked hard to get to where I am right now, and it took a long road. I mean, there's been things here and there, but I've pretty much worked hard to become the person that I am now.
Thank you.
Cindy.
Good morning. 2 questions. One, where are you currently employed?
Right now, I'm currently employed at Adient.
What is that?
It's a company in Milwaukee, but it's also transferred me to I can remotely work. It's a tech company. They do automotive and stuff, basically interiors, designs and stuff for cars like Audi, Cadillac, Lincoln, Ford.
Okay. And are you a
Just
contractor for
recently
them
start.
or?
Yeah, I just recently started back there maybe 3 weeks ago. Before then, I was unemployed doing more e-commerce work.
Second question, the application strongly encourages that people submit letters of support with their application that the board can review, and you did not submit any letters. Can you tell us why not?
I don't know. I honestly don't remember actually reading that part to submit letters. And if I did, if I had a chance to, I would have had a couple letters sent.
Well, it's right there in the application. I'm not sure. You must have just missed it. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, I must have overlooked it. I noticed that when I watched some of the parole videos, pardon videos, from months before, and I noticed that it was asked about letters, and I was like, why didn't I was sending letters? And I just now realized that it must have been in the application. I must didn't pay attention to it.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Levy? All right. Thank you very much for your time today, Mr. Levy, and hope you enjoy the rest of your morning.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, and I know we're troubleshooting with Mr. Lilj, so I don't think we're quite ready to hear from him yet. In the meantime, let's go to our next applicant, Lamont Williams, who I do believe I just saw. Mr. Williams, are you able to hear us? It looks like you're unmuted, but we're not able to hear or see you if you're talking. Can you try saying something for me? All right, now you're muted again. Huh, we still can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Oh, yes, there we are.
Okay. Okay, first thing, forgive me, I'm a little nervous. It's been 35 years. I've been waiting on this. First, I'd like to say, give unto God, which is the head of my life. And right now, you got to excuse me because I'm just so nervous.
That's all right. Take your time.
I would just like to say, the words coming out of my mouth, I'm just basically putting it in God's hands. I tried to write something down, but and in a situation like this, you really can't write it down. It really got to come from the heart and the truth. And this is what this is what I got to say. The things that I did back when I was younger, I went to prison in I think it was 87, 89. And I moved to Wisconsin from Chicago. I moved down there, and I think I just basically, as a young man, 25 years old, I hooked up with the wrong crowd. And where I came from, it was all about fast money in Chicago back in the days. And I got convicted of 3 counts, 2 counts of party 2, 1 count of delivery, if I'm not mistaken. I accept my responsibility. What I did the time. And since I've been out, all I have did was work. I currently work for the railroad, Union Pacific Railroad. I've been there about 21, 22 years, and I work construction. And I also, too, have a LLC for my own detailing business. And I moved to Phoenix, Arizona. This is where I reside at right now, but I am a traveling mechanic. I travel all over the world. Matter of fact, I'll be in Wisconsin in about another month, working on trains there. And I'm asking for a pardon because I'm a mentor. I mentor kids. I coach basketball. I coach baseball. I coach football. I do stuff for the community. I belong to several organizations. I belong to the Masonics, to the Consistory, to Shrines. And I just like giving back to the community. And now I look back on my mistakes that I did as a young man, and I regret the things that I do now, because by me I'll be 60 years old in a couple of months, I'm scared. The younger generation scares me because it makes me think this is what I was doing back when I was younger. So my biggest thing is now is to try to help children that's on the street and lead them to a good path and show them if you did mess up in life, you can do right and be forgiven down the line, as long as you can stay on the positive road and do what you're supposed to do. And that's what I do. I spoke with the pastor at the church, and I told the pastor, I said, Pastor, I got a pardon, a board coming up. And I said, I don't know what to say. He said, just let it come from the heart. He said, this is something that you really can't prepare for. Just let it roll off your tongue, let it come from the heart. And that's all I can do. I had a lot of words to say, but I don't think right now it's just not coming out the way I really wanted to say it because I'm nervous.
That makes sense, Mr. Williams. Why don't we turn it over to questions from the board and see if there's anything that you haven't covered that folks would like to hear about. Okay. Board members, any questions for Mr. Williams? Jerry.
Mr. Williams, the Milwaukee County District Attorney's Office supports your application for a pardon. How does that make you feel?
Oh, I feel great. I feel great. I've been waiting so long. And I'm going to continue to keep doing what I'm doing today as in good for the community until I pass away. I have 14 grandkids and 3 greats, and I'm a good role model for all of them.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Williams? All right. Thank you very much for your time this morning, Mr. Williams, and hope you enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you. Oh, Lord. Oh, Lord.
All right, and I believe we have Mr. Lilj back on the Zoom with us via phone. Mr. Lilj, if you can hear us, we are ready to hear from you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you today?
Excellent.
I'm trying to figure out. I'm fine. I've spent the last 45 minutes trying to get in touch with you, but luckily somebody helped me out a lot. John from the governor's office been on the phone with me 4 or 5 times this morning.
Well, we're glad we finally got you working in the Zoom. Would you like me to repeat the questions that we're hoping that you'll cover?
Yeah, just tell me the questions. I don't know how to get it onto Zoom anymore. I mean, FaceTime. I'm stuck. I'm not a.
That's okay. We can do it just audio. We can hear you perfectly. So we're going to ask you to spend about 3 minutes speaking to those questions we sent you in advance, asking you to give us a brief summary of the offense you're seeking a pardon for and how your sentence went. Then number 2, how things have gone for you since, community involvement, employment, things like that. And then number 3, just a brief statement about why you're seeking a pardon and why you think the governor should grant you one. Once you cover those 3, we'll open it up to other questions from the board.
Okay. I didn't get the 3 questions that you're asking me about. I'm not that bright on the computer. I'm self-taught. I've been.
That's okay.
All right. My brief history.
Just
in
your
Milwaukee.
offense that you're seeking a pardon for, and how your sentencing went. Let's start with that.
My sentencing in 1979. My mom died in 1974. I was 20. I was working in a factory. I saw my dad once a week or every other week, and no guidance, no father. My father, once in a while I would see him, but we just go out for dinner. My mom, like I said, my mom brought us up wrong. She taught us wrong. She taught us how to gamble and throw dice and everything back in the 60s with her boyfriend. And I just fell into the wrong crowd in like 1974, 75 with just different lady friends that they wanted drugs. So I ended up selling drugs to afford my habits of cocaine and their habits, keep everybody happy. I got caught. I went to jail. I was in the House of Correction. My dad passed away while I was in the House of Correction, and he passed away October 2nd. My daughter, with my first wife, Liz, was born August 9th, and he came to the hospital on August 11th to tell me he wasn't going to live long. I had no idea. And then he passed away, and the guards at the House of Correction were nice to me, and they let me stay out for a couple of days to help my dad's second wife with funeral arrangements. Then I finished my sentence. Well, I didn't finish it. They commuted it early because I was offered an opportunity to take an apprenticeship in the asbestos field in Kenosha, and the requirements were for me to move to Kenosha, which we did in January of 1980. And I stayed there, and I finished my probation in Kenosha, and then we moved back to Milwaukee to try to finish up my apprenticeship in asbestos field, but that didn't work out well. I took a hard look at it and didn't want to end up like my dad from asbestos and lung cancer. I turned around and went into sales under my brother's guidance, and then Liz and I, we broke up. Well, we divorced in 1985. Life turned around. I mean, my life went upside down again, and went back into my old habits, and I got arrested in, I think, 1990. I'm not sure exactly. 1990, 1991 for cocaine. And I did, let me see. I think I did 6 months House of Correction. The judge was nice to me again. But I flipped on somebody, and that's why I got off the way I did. I went up the ladder. And then after I was out of there, I went to work as a painter for 6 months to support Patty and my daughter, Natasha. And then I went to work at Color Tile, and I was a salesperson there, making very, very good money. In fact, I was the number 3 salesman in the country for Color Tile in the early 90s. But I taught myself how to install tile, and I quit Color Tile to run my own business in 1993. My son was born in 94, and my tile business has allowed me to have a good life. I've been successful, and I've trained a lot of other young men in the tile business, from Nick and Dan and Sean. There's about 10 other guys around the Milwaukee area that now have their own small little tile installation businesses. And so then I retired a year and a half ago and gave my business to my son, and he tried running it, but he didn't want to. He had 2 children, and he didn't want to do the paperwork, so I came out of semi-retirement to help him, and now I run the paper end of his business. I do all the estimating and receiving paychecks and everything. And I kept a close eye on my son through all his formative years, teaching him how to play handball, took him to handball tournaments, kept a close eye on him so that he wouldn't fall in the same bad habit that I did. And I kept a very close eye on him. And he's successful. He's 30 now, and he's got 2 children, my 2 grandchildren. We all live in the same house together.
Thank you, Mr. Lynch.
I don't know what else. Pardon me?
Could you just speak very briefly to why you're seeking a pardon and why you think the governor should grant you one? And then we'll see what other questions we have for you.
I was totally embarrassed by my acts, and I've been shunned by the handball community, except for a couple people out of 150 handball players in the state of Wisconsin. I have been shunned, looked down upon, not talked to, lost my membership at the best gym in the Milwaukee area, the WAC, and I'm embarrassed by what I did when I was younger, and it's my own fault. There's nobody else to blame but myself. I would just like to be without I call it a lien over my head. I just want to make my son and my grandkids proud of me again, 100% proud of me.
Thank you. Let's see if board members have any questions for you. Board members? Noble?
Yes, you indicated you lost your membership, and you lost your membership at the club, the handball club.
Yeah, yes, because I turned, well, one of the members there was buying a chunk of cocaine from me. And the police, when they busted me, they offered me the opportunity, because he was a school teacher in West Dallas, to flip on him and his partners. So I arranged a deal where they were going to buy a lot of cocaine, a quarter pound or a half pound of cocaine. I don't remember exactly. And the police department wanted him out of the school system, so I set him up. Okay. And he was a member at the same membership, the WAC, as I was. He has since offered his friendship to me again about 5 or 6 years ago, and said I did him a favor by having him caught being a cocaine user and dealer. He was mad at first, but after 20 years, 25 years, we're not friends, but if I see him because I go to the club once a year to watch the handball tournament, the Greater Milwaukee Open in December, when the pros come into town.
Okay. Thank you.
And I thank you, okay.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we have one more question for you, Mr. Lilj. Jerry.
So the Milwaukee County District Attorney's Office supports your application for a pardon. How does that make you feel?
Feels great. I mean, when I completed my probation, I went back in front of Judge Wiedemeyer for a modification, and he called me a community a star to the community, and I let him down. And then he passed away. I never saw him again, but he passed away, and I feel real bad about that. I let him down. I let a bunch of police officers that I knew from the Eagles Club down with my continued problem, or I should say habit.
Thank you.
So, and I feel great about that because I know a lot of police officers and firemen from Milwaukee, the Eagles Club. We all grew up together.
Any other questions from the board? Oh, Cindy, yes.
Good morning, Ms. Lizzie. Were you arrested for a OWI this year?
Not this year, ma'am. It was a year and a half ago.
Okay.
Yeah, I was arrested. It was in December. I was at a Christmas party in West Dallas, and I drank more than my normal. Normally I just go there and have a couple drinks. Well, I had, I think, 3 or 4, and I was going home because I don't live in Milwaukee County anymore. I live in Washington County in Richfield.
Okay. So finalized in 2023 then?
Yes.
Okay.
It took West Dallas a whole year to get my case because of COVID and everything. It took them a whole year to get my case to the courtroom. And yes,
okay.
It got finalized in December. Then my attorney appealed, but he forgot to appeal it. And I just said, I'm done. Just whatever it is, it is. I paid the money. I paid the fine. And I'm suffering the consequences.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions from
I appreciate the honor. I just appreciate the opportunity to talk to you.
Thank you, Mr. Lilj. We appreciate your time. Hope you enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you very much. Have a good day.
All right, and our last applicant of the morning is Mauricio Capelli, who I do believe I saw in the Zoom.
Hello?
Hello, we'll turn it over to you, sir.
Hello. All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Mauricio Capelli, and I want to thank you for this opportunity. This is really important to my family and I, and also I'm super nervous right now. Before I start, I just want to say I got so much information to share in so little time. I kept things basic so I could get through this in a allowed time. So if you need me to elaborate, please ask. I wanted to start with a little background so you help understand my situation. I was born in San Jose, Costa Rica in 1979. And at age 1, I was brought to the United States, specifically Wisconsin. When I was 2 years old, my mother married the person I call Dad. With that marriage, I became a legal permanent resident. When I was 4 years old, my parents started the adoption process. On April 14th, 1986, my adoption was approved by the state of Wisconsin. My name was changed to Mauricio Paul Capelli, and I received a social security number. My parents had 2 more children. I got a younger brother and sister named Tony and Andrea, and we all grew up in Greenfield. I went to Whitnall, and I graduated in '98. All right, a brief summary of my offenses. In 2004, I was charged with bail jumping. I received 2 years of probation. Again, in 2006, while on probation, I was charged with possession of narcotic drugs. I received time served for the first probation and then given 2 years of additional probation. In 2008, I was charged with possession with intent to deliver cocaine. I received 4 years incarceration, 3 years of extended supervision, and I did successfully complete that sentence. All right. For the 2004 charge, basically what I want to say is that I'd already been living on my own for a couple of years by then. You know, I wasn't living life right. I was more worried about what I wanted to do tonight than what I needed to do tomorrow. I was staying out all night till bar closed, going to after parties. Basically, you know, if you were offering help, I wasn't interested. I wasn't ready. For that particular charge, what I should have done, all I needed to do was call it in. That's all I just do is call and tell them that I missed my court date and make arrangements. Instead, I chose to hide till I had police contact. All right, for the 2006 charge, I was under the influence of barbiturates. It was Ambien, Xanax. You know, I had blackouts. You know, I didn't even believe that was a real thing. That's not, you know what I mean? Like, you don't remember nothing. But I woke up 2 days after my arrest in the county jail in the next county over. That situation scared me. I had been driving earlier that day. You know, I could have killed somebody. I could have hurt myself or somebody else. You know, that ain't cool. I feel that at that time, that's where I acknowledged that something needed to change. You know, I don't want to hurt nobody. I don't want to live with that. You know, so I did make changes. But just not in the correct way. Instead of fixing the real problem, my substance abuse, I just changed my situation so that I was less likely to get in trouble and I could continue living the way I was. All right. For the 2008 charge, for me, this is where everything changed. I had 4 years to do it. That's a long time, but things started to look up. I was eligible for the first time offenders program. I had a chance to be home in half the time. So off I went to boot camp. Boot camp was the hardest thing I ever did, but probably one of the best things that ever happened to me. All right, for boot camp, like it was tough. It was the toughest thing. Man, the first day, the drill sergeant's like this far away from your face, yelling at you, 3 of them, telling you about how much of a degenerate you are and how a piece of work you are, and you know they take you in the back and they shave your head. 5 swipes, that's all you get. Boop, boop. You got long hairs everywhere. You look like an idiot for a couple of weeks till the next haircutting session. It's you know, you no longer have a name. You're no longer your inmate now. You're no longer Capelli. You earn your name back when you're released. All right. I remember the first day I said it. I can't do this, you know. But now I understand they need to break you down to build you back up. You know, they need to deprogram you. I believe, it's my opinion, that the combination of the military structure, the criminal thinking classes, and the AODA all together, the combination of everything, is why this program is so effective. The program changed my life. It led me to acknowledge that what I did and recognize how my actions affected my community, my family, and myself. It gave me the tools to take back my life, to be a productive member of the community, and to get and stay sober. All right. In 2010, I completed boot camp, and upon my release from prison, I had over 5 years of extended supervision to do. I knew I was going to succeed. I was a changed person. I committed myself to building my resume and my skills. I initially did some volunteer work to gain some work experience. I took additional AODA classes. Eventually, I was able to get trade work job training, and I went to school. I went to WCTC for a year and studied industrial mechanics. Side note, I just paid off my student loans after 10 years. Proud of that. After staying focused, my hard work was paying off. I got a job at J.M. Brennan, mechanical contractors. After 1 year, I was offered a five-year apprenticeship through the state of Wisconsin for a sheet metal worker. Life was good. In 2015, I successfully discharged from extended supervision. My apprenticeship was started in a couple months, and this would be the only opportunity I had to fulfill one of my long-term goals and go visit Costa Rica, where I was born. You see, I've been on probation since 2004, and you're not allowed to travel while you're on probation. So this was important to me. I went for 10 days. On my return home, I was stopped at Atlanta International Airport, and this was the first time I learned I was not a U.S. citizen. I was taken into custody, and 3 months later, I was deported. I've been fighting to get home ever since. And for your last question, why I want a pardon, or why I think I should receive a pardon, I'm here before you requesting a pardon for one reason, and one reason only. It's so that I can go home. I'm requesting a pardon I'm not requesting a pardon in any way to absolve myself of my responsibilities for my actions. I will always be responsible for my mistakes that I made. I am asking a pardon simply so that I can go home and be with my family. My last conviction was 16 years ago. That conviction is the reason for my deportation. I have completely transformed my life since then. I've been separated from my country, my home, my family, my girlfriend for almost 10 years now. Receiving a pardon could give me a chance to go home. I just want to say one more thing. I just want to let everyone know that I got the best family ever. Telling you that my mom, dad, brother, and sister, they're the only reason I have a roof over my head right now, and I'm not homeless. And I also want to tell you about someone, she never gets the credit she deserves. Her name is Debbie. She's been my girlfriend for over 20 years, and she has my back this entire time. And I just want to let you know how special she was to me. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Capelli.
Really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Board members, any questions for Mr. Capelli? No? Okay, I think that covered it then, Mr. Capelli. Appreciate your time this morning and I hope that you enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. All right, so that was our last morning session applicant, and at this time, I will entertain a motion to move into closed session pursuant to Wisconsin statute section 19.85 sub 1 sub A, D, and F for purposes of deliberations concerning specific cases before the board, considering specific applications, and for the purposes of considering financial, medical, social, or personal histories of specific persons. Is there a motion? Cindy?
Second.
And a second from Judge Cremers. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? All right. The board will move into closed session at this time. Board members, please just give me a moment to make sure that we are able to end the live stream and move folks back to the waiting room. All right, everyone, if you're just joining us, please just give us a minute to let everyone in from the waiting room and we'll get started shortly. Okay, we've got a few folks still connecting to audio, but I think that is most of the group from the waiting room. So Eric, if you'll just let me know when our live stream is working, we can go ahead and get started.
The live stream is working.
Excellent. Well, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Mel Barnes. I'm Governor Evers' Chief Legal Counsel and a member of the Pardon Advisory Board. I'm going to go ahead and introduce other members of the board that we have with us on the Zoom today. I'll go through a couple of quick housekeeping items then, and we will go ahead and start hearing from applicants this afternoon. So with me on the Zoom, we have board member Judge Jeffrey Kremers, who is Attorney General Call's nominee to the board. He served as a Milwaukee County Circuit Court judge for 26 years, including serving as chief judge for 7 of those years before retiring in 2018. We have board member Cindy O'Donnell, who served as the Deputy Secretary for the Department of Corrections under Governors Thompson, McCallum, and Doyle. She also served as a division administrator under Attorneys General Lautenschlager and Van Hollen. And we have board member Reverend Jerry Hancock, who is the director of the Prison Ministry Project. He previously served as a public defender, a deputy district attorney, and as an administrator for the Department of Justice's Division of Law Enforcement Services. When we dive into hearing from applicants, we are going to ask everyone to keep your cameras off and your sound muted until it's your turn to be heard by the board. That will allow us to make sure that we can focus on the person who's presenting and that we have good audio. As a reminder, today's hearing is being live streamed via Wisconsin Eye and YouTube. If you have any tech issues with the Zoom, don't worry. Someone from the governor's office will reach out to you. We'll get things sorted out. And if we need to come back to you because Zoom isn't working when it's your turn, we can do that, not a problem. Otherwise, we will call folks up on the order listed in the agenda and the open meetings notice. Each applicant will have about 5 minutes with the board. We'll ask you to spend the first 3 of those minutes speaking to the questions that you were sent in advance of today's hearing. As a reminder, those are to first provide us with a brief summary of the offense you're seeking a pardon for and how your sentence went. We're not here as a criminal court. We're not trying to retry the crime, so please don't minimize your involvement or anything like that. We're just looking to hear from you about what happened. The second question is that we'll ask you to provide a brief summary of what you've done since the completion of your sentence. So that might involve community involvement, employment, but just telling us where you're at now and how your life is different from the time of your offenses. And then finally, the third item, we'll ask for a brief statement about why you're seeking a pardon and why you think the governor should grant you one. After you spend about 3 minutes speaking to those questions, we'll open it up to questions from the board. Please don't read too much into it if folks do or do not have additional questions for you. Sometimes things are covered by your application and your presentation, but those questions are important and we want to make sure that the board has the information that it needs to make a recommendation. So if you're going too much over your 3 minutes or so on those first couple of questions, I will gently interrupt you and try to move us to questions from the board so that we can get to those. Once you are done answering questions from the board, you're welcome to leave the Zoom. You do not need to hang out for the full hearing. You can go enjoy the rest of your day. Once everyone from the afternoon session is heard, the board will move into closed session and decide whether or not to recommend your application to the governor. You need a majority support of board members present in order to have your application forwarded to the governor. He will then make a final decision on accepting or rejecting that application. And either way, you'll find out about the outcome of today's hearing in about a month or a month and a half. So we know that you've been really patient getting to the hearing today. We're going to ask for just a little bit more patience as we're able to consider those recommendations and send them to the governor. But you will hear from us in about a month or a month and a half. All right. With that, we will go ahead and get started hearing from our afternoon applicants, starting with Mr. Stephen Gottsacker. Mr. Gottsacker, are you with us in the Zoom?
Yes, I am.
Great. We can hear you. We can't quite see you. But while you're working
Oh,
on
there
your
we go. If for some reason it said the host stopped my video, so there we go.
There we are. And just before you begin, Mr. Gossager, I'm going to note Reverend Hancock is recusing himself from this application. So you'll see he's gone off video, but the rest of us are ready to hear from you. You can go ahead and start.
Okay. First of all, thank you guys all for your time today. I appreciate it. To start out with the first question, a brief summary of the offense and the sentence. I was convicted of delivery of a I'm sorry. I'm nervous. Delivery of illegal articles to inmates. While I was an employee of the Wisconsin Resource Center, I delivered contraband to inmates, including food, books, and prescription medications. I was sentenced to 3 years of probation. During that time, I was suggested to go to outpatient treatment. I completed that. I was drug tested regularly. I passed all those drug tests. I was introduced to 12-step recovery in that process, and I got really involved and have stayed really involved ever since. I've maintained sobriety and recovery as a result. It's probably been the biggest change in my life. I wish it would have happened earlier in my life, but I guess it takes what it takes, because it's changed my life immensely, and I'm grateful, and I'm probably alive today because of it. A summary of what I've done since completing the sentence. I've maintained employment the whole time. Briefly after completing probation, I lived in Oregon. I maintained employment at Trader Joe's that entire time. I got involved in a church there, which allowed me to get active in service in the community. We collected food and delivered food to homeless people. Also had a home group in Alcoholics Anonymous, which I was really involved in. And like I said, I have a new home group now, but the home group there also allowed me to help men recover from addiction by sponsoring them. Also volunteer opportunities. My home group regularly was involved in, and the one I'm in now today is still involved in reaching out to the community through, we volunteer to help elderly people, like usually move in and out of senior living facilities or yard work and stuff like that. We raise money for treatment centers, scholarship funds for various treatment centers. Also, like I said, I maintain employment, activity in the home group, and then also activity in a church. I recently moved to the Twin Cities in St. Paul, Minnesota, where I've started to look into more professional positions. Obviously, part of that will depend on the outcome of this hearing. But I deliver pizzas currently. I'm also involved in the 12-step recovery group here. I have a home group. I sponsor men. We're active in the community, volunteering with homeless outreach and detox centers, stuff like that. Let's see. And then I think the statement about why I should receive a pardon, when I was convicted of this crime of delivery of illegal articles to inmates, I was enrolled in a graduate program to become licensed as an LPC. I was actively using drugs at the time, obviously, and briefly before I was convicted, I was asked to step away because I was showing up not in a good condition to finish class. But I have just a few credits left of that and some experiential stuff in that. But once I was convicted, I asked if I could come back to finish, and they said I couldn't come back unless I was licensable. And to be licensable, I can't be a felon. I think I'm like uniquely positioned to be helpful in a position as a therapist to help families and addicts. I know I can do that other routes, but I think this allows me to be like of maximum use to society. And I think that's why I think a pardon is warranted in this situation, and how it would benefit me and society.
Thank you,
I
Mr.
think
Gatsacker.
that's about it.
Lovely. I just want to see if we have questions from the other board members. Any questions for Mr. Gatsacker? Cindy?
Yeah, good afternoon, Mr. Gatsacker. Congratulations on your long-term sobriety.
Thank you.
Good for you. Good for you. Couple of questions. It looks like you were convicted of a misdemeanor battery in 2002. Is that right?
Yes.
Can you tell us what that was about?
It was, again, I was drunk and intoxicated, and some friends had started to get into a fight, and I intervened, and a guy came at me, and then I responded and hit him, and it was expunged. I completed that probation, and the charge was expunged. Yeah.
Okay.
That's one of the points in my life where I think I could have been introduced to recovery, but I just, for some reason, it wasn't enough. But.
Okay. My other question is about the offense for which you're today seeking the pardon. So you acknowledge in your statement that you gave inmates food, books, craft supplies, and prescription medications, correct? That's
yes.
Right. And can you, so were I'm curious about the prescription medications. Were those your own prescription medications, or did you get them from other people and bring them in? How did that, what were you bringing in?
They were my own prescriptions. Benzodiazepines, Suboxone. Those were the two medications.
Okay. So were they medications that could impair someone? They could get high off it, or is that
yes
fair to say?
Yes. If they weren't used to them, definitely yes.
Yeah. Okay. And over what period of time were you engaged in this behavior? Like, how long did it go on, if you remember?
It was probably like three months.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Judge Cremers, yeah.
Following up on those questions, why did you do this?
I mean, it sounds warped and weird. I think even for me to say it now, but like I had this, first of all, I was impaired, and my judgment was not sound. But I had this warped sense of the Wisconsin Resource Center is a half DOC and half DHS, or at least it was at the time. I don't know what it's like now, but so it's, and I was on the DHS side, and there was this weird DOC treated, in my eyes, treated inmates like subhuman, and DHS, which is where I was employed, I thought we treated them like humans, and I had this weird sense of relieving their suffering and over empathizing, and unsound judgment. I mean, it was that combination of stuff. I felt bad for them. I felt like a connection to them. Unclear boundaries. I over identified with them. That kind of stuff. Something I today. I said, I don't even, in a sound, sober mind, I can't even fathom. But at the time, it felt I don't know, I was relieving their suffering in some way.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions from the board? All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Gatsacker. I appreciate your time this afternoon and hope you enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you so much. I appreciate your time.
Thank you. Our next applicant is Brandon Hilson. There we are, Mr. Hilson.
Hi, how you doing?
Great.
Hi, my name is Brandon Hilson. I would like to thank Tony Evans and the pardon board for this opportunity today. Please excuse my voice. I got a sore throat. It might go in and out today. Okay, in 1998, I was convicted of possession and intent to deliver THC and carried a concealed weapon. It was sentenced to 3 years of probation. In 2000, I was convicted of possession of THC, a second offense, and sentenced to license suspended for 6 months in the House of Correction in 9 months. There are 24 years of my conviction, I had turned my life around and have been in any kind of trouble since. I learned my lesson, and now the harm that I caused for the poor choices for me and my parents and my family. Through the years, I had completed 2 years of college, becoming a homeowner and a landlord of 15 units, and working as a sales executive at the advertising magazine, where I supported local businesses and I contributed to the community. I have also been working at Pick and Save for 27 years. In addition to my professional achievement, I do community service and helping others every week. I visit Milwaukee churches to capture, share words through pictures and videos, to post social media, reaching out wide audience. I have applied 3 times, and with my complete turnaround, I feel I am a good candidate for this pardon. Despite my contribution over the past 2 decades, there were certain goals I have been unable to achieve. I've been a positive role model for the youth in the community and my family members, including my nieces and my nephews. It also limits my profession as my business owner, as I want to do. With this partner, I would like to show the community that hard work can lead to success. Either you make bad mistakes early in life. I also want to set an example for my loved ones. And thank you for this time in this meeting today.
Thank you, Mr. Hilson. Board members, any questions for Mr. Hilson? No? Oh, Jerry, yes.
Mr. Hilson, in your application, you submitted a letter about why you thought you were denied the last time you applied. Why do you think you might have been denied the last time you applied?
I'm not sure. I
Do
feel
you
that.
remember that hearing?
Yes.
And do you remember being asked about the guns you had in the car at the time you were arrested?
Yes, I know. I just take full responsibility for my actions now, and I just wanted to know that it was a mistake.
Can you talk about why you had those guns? You had, I think, you had 2 22s and a 12-gauge shotgun and lots of ammunition. What was going on with that?
Yeah, I was young at the time. I was a teenager. I was running with the older kids in my neighborhood, and I made bad decisions, and I take full responsibility for my actions. I upset my family and my parents and everything. I'm very sorry about it.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions from the board for Mr. Hilson? No, all right. Thank you very much for your time this afternoon, Mr. Hilson. We appreciate you sharing your story with the board and hope you enjoy the rest of your day.
And thank you. Have a nice day.
All right, our next applicant is Nicholas Artsis, who I do believe I saw in the Zoom. Mr. Artsis?
Yep, I'm sorry, having a little difficulty. There we go, okay. Thank you very much for this opportunity to the board and to Tony as well. I am here seeking a pardon for some felonies that occurred in 1982. Was felony forgery and criminal concealment of stolen property. I was convicted. I accepted a plea bargain, and I was sentenced initially to 3 years on a stayed sentence of probation. That actually got extended, I believe, to 4 years because of probation violations. But I did complete the probation. I'd like to say that I didn't get into any trouble after that, but that's not the case. You know, my story is kind of jagged, lots of ups and downs, but I finally achieved permanent, or hopefully permanent sobriety in 2015. Similar to what somebody else had said, 12-step program was what actually did it for me. I tried treatment several times, that did not work for me, but the 12-step programs of AA and NA have been successful. My sobriety date is July 18th of 2015. Since achieving sobriety, I went back to school. I got my associate degree in human services, also a one-year technical diploma in addiction studies. And since then, I have been working in human services, primarily in housing, helping people with addictions, mental illness, and homelessness issues, either prevention or, you know, eliminating their homelessness. The last position I had was I was the director of Port St. Vincent, which was a men's transitional housing program on the Near East Side of Madison. And I was doing that until the program closed in August of last year. Also things that I'm doing in the community, very active in both AA and NA. I am the treatment chair for the Prairie Doc group, which is a subgroup of the Monona Serenity group here in Madison, or Madison area. And so I'm working with getting, making sure that representation of the 12-step programs are available into the treatment centers, Tellurian, Five Door, the Detox Center. I chair a meeting in the Detox Center on one Friday a month. I chair meetings at my home group, which meets 7 days a week. I've been a member of that ever since getting sober in 2015. And the last thing I guess I would say is that since losing my employment, I decided to go back to school. I am attending Southern New Hampshire University in pursuit of my bachelor's degree, which I hope to have by August of next year. In general studies with my concentration in essentials of human service. And I guess the reason I'm seeking a pardon is because I believe that these felonies are hindering me as far as other employment in my career field. And so I think that's essentially why I'm seeking a pardon.
Thank you, Mr. Fetzies. Questions from the board. Judge Kremers.
Good afternoon, sir. So you're 60 years old, right? And these crimes that you're seeking a pardon for are from 42 years ago.
Yeah.
But your sobriety date, if I heard you correctly, was about 9 years ago.
Correct.
So what took so long for you, in your opinion, what took so long for you to get sober and maintain sobriety? And congratulations on 9 years. I'm not certainly minimizing 9 years. That's a long time and good for you. I'm just kind of curious as to why it took you so long after your crimes to figure that out.
Sure. That's a totally acceptable question. I often ask that of myself. You know, one of the things we talk about in our program is we don't wish to regret the past or wish to shut the door on it. And my story is very, you know, different. I had different periods in my life where I was able to maintain some sobriety, you know, for a year or 9 months. I went to treatment 2 times and had limited success. I didn't really dive into the 12-step program. Thought that once I went to treatment, I would be fixed, and life got lifey, And being an addict, I just kept cycling, and no real excuse for that. And yeah, it's unfortunate that all these things are happening so late in my life. I definitely regret that.
All right, thank you.
Other questions from the board? Jerry.
I saw on your application that you had worked for Justine. What were you doing with him?
Sure. Great question and a great job. I really enjoyed working there. What I was employed there was a rapid rehousing case manager, and Justine, as I'm sure you are aware of, deals exclusively with people that are reentering from the criminal justice system, reentering society. And I felt like it was a perfect position for me because I could identify with so many of the people that were trying to change their lives. And a little bit of peer support was involved in that as well. But yeah, essentially it was an effort to find housing during the pandemic years. There was quite a crisis in Madison with the housing, homeless issues. There were encampments and they were putting people in hotels and things like that. So we were trying to find permanent housing for them. And so that was what I was tasked with.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the board? All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Fassis. Hope that you enjoy the rest of your afternoon, and thank you for spending the time with us this afternoon.
Thank you very much. Have a great day, everybody.
Our next applicant is Keisha Larry. Larry, I believe I saw you in the Zoom. Miss Larry,
Can you hear me?
Oh, there we go. I was gonna say you look unmuted. We can't quite see you yet.
I'm at a local I'm at a local library in Bronzeville in Chicago, Illinois. The computers here don't have any Zoom screens so that you guys can see me.
That's okay.
Is that okay?
You can proceed
Okay,
audio
cool.
only, no problem.
Okay. So you want me to start off telling you what my convictions were. In 1993, April 1st, manufacturing, delivering a controlled substance. I was sentenced 11/15/1993, 5 years probation, 6 months driving license suspension. I completed 12/27/2000. I also see a resisting or obstructing an officer in 1998, which I did 30 days and a fine. I don't recall that. I still take full responsibility and accountability for the things that I did do. I paid off for all of my fines, charges after leaving incarceration. I came back to Chicago to take care of my grandmother, who had been sitting in the living room in a chair for at least 6 months, from what her sister was telling me. Also took care of her sister and my uncle through the Department of Human Services. They all passed away. Once they passed on, I went into hair school in about 2004. I graduated in 2006. I'm currently a licensed hairstylist now, 18 years later. During those years, I also went back to school and got my associates in general studies in about 2010. During 2010, my family was murdered by my brother. I lost my beautiful 3-year-old daughter, Kalisha. Okay, one moment.
Take your time.
My daughter, Keisha, 16, pregnant. He shot my 13-year-old son in the head. He killed our mother. He killed his 8-month-old baby and his wife, who was pregnant as well. At that time, I was working towards my associates at Oliver Harvey, not Oliver Harvey, Daly College. The night that they were murdered, is like I was supposed to graduate maybe that week. I had to have a paper in to my professor on gun violence in the Inglewood area. I wasn't home that night. I let my brother stay there with his wife, my mom, and everybody, and I got a call from my daughter who did escape. Said that my brother was at my home killing everyone. So I stay in. For some years, I was in a very dark space. I continued back into school to finish my associates, which took 10 years, but I managed to complete that. After receiving my associates, I just recently went back in September to get I needed 500 hours to get my teacher's license in cosmetology, which I received December 13th, 2023. Now, I go take state board in 2 weeks for that license, and I'm going on to be a teacher and also still do hair. I'm sorry. I get a little emotional even after 14 years that happened in 2010 with my family. But nevertheless, I've went into my community and I've helped out with rehabilitation with the seniors and people with different diseases, whatever it was. I offered my services to a rehabilitation center in Bronzeville in the community I live in for free from 9 to 2, and I would sometimes like to see myself leaving at 4, almost 5, just because I like to be a woman of my word. I like to say those things that I did as far as my drug charges were when I was 19. I didn't have a clear view in life the way I wasn't raised, but the community that I was raised in, it was like a way of living. You know, selling drugs was a cool thing. As I've gotten older, of course, I know that's not a cool thing. It's actually horrible. Today, I'm an outspoken person. I love people. I love helping people. And I also love sharing my story with people who sometimes feel like they want to give up in life. I haven't given up. I'm not giving up. I'm actually doing rather well. And today, I'm asking for a pardon because I have 10 wonderful grandchildren. I still have 3 of my children. I had 6. They look up to me. I try and be the best example that I can be. I try and help them, walk better in life, not the way that I was raised as far as thinking the way the community was set up and what I was subjected to was a cool way of living. Totally against it with my grandchildren. They're doing wonderful. Most of them have their own business. One of my granddaughters, she makes tutus for birthday parties. My grandson has a clothing line called Anything's Possible. My other granddaughter, Kamaya, she speaks bilingual. She lives down in Madison, Wisconsin. Just my children that did survive. I did end up losing a son who was shot in the head in 2010, Damon. He was shot in 2017 and murdered by a friend's cousin. So that would be my 3rd child I had lost. I still continued on, and my oldest son, he's been married to his wife. They've been together since 6th grade, and my daughter Vicinity, she works there in Madison as a home care provider. And for me and my family, I'm just grateful to still have them and to be the mom that I am today. And I'm asking for a pardon to clear my record. Also, I live in Chicago, Illinois. It's so violent and dangerous here, and I like to do things the right way. If I could get my FOID card, I like to get it legitly. And me having a pardon in Wisconsin when I was 19 with the drug case I caught is stopping me from continuing on with those things that I'm trying to do to better my way at 51, which that was 32 years ago. And I can say that I can't say that I'm glad that it happened, but it has allowed me to look further into just living better and being a better person than what I was subjected to. So
Thank you, Ms.
yeah,
Larry.
that's my story.
I just want to pause you and see if the board has any questions for you. Board
Yes.
members? Judge Kremers?
Okay.
Good afternoon, Ms. Larry. I'm
Good afternoon.
kind of at a loss for words about
Harvey.
the tragedy that you experienced in your life, and you're sharing that with us. I appreciate you sharing it, and I'm very, very sorry for yours and your family's loss. It just sounds
Thank you.
incomprehensible.
Yeah.
What I want to ask you about is some social media posts from a couple of years ago, 2021, that seemed to show you at a shooting range.
Okay. Oh, I didn't. I wasn't on probation or anything. It's just like here in Chicago, you can go to the gun range just for like fun, I guess. It was no big deal.
So you acknowledge going to the shooting range and handling a firearm and
yes.
yes. So you don't recall the judge telling you that as a convicted felon, it's illegal for you to possess a firearm?
Oh no, I wasn't possessed. All to possess it, meaning even going to it didn't ring to me from Wisconsin. I had this case, so I didn't. This is years later. What date? When was that? You say, sir?
When you were convicted of the felonies in Wisconsin, you were told by the judge that you could not possess a firearm as long as that conviction was on your record.
No, I didn't pay any knowledge. I thought once I was done with probation and everything, it was over. No. Possessing one, I never bought one. I just was at a range using their gun. I didn't own a gun.
Okay, thank you.
Misunderstanding. You're welcome.
Does anyone else have any questions for Miss Larry? All right. Seeing none, thank you very much for your time this afternoon, Miss Larry, and I hope that you enjoy the rest of your day.
Okay, thank you.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Our next applicant is Jennifer Blanche. Ms. Blanche, are you in the Zoom with us?
Mel, you seem to have frozen again. Just hang on, Ms. Blanche. Our board chair is going to have to log back in, I think.
Are you able to hear me? Okay, great. I'm sorry about that. Just having internet issues at the Capitol today. We'll go ahead and turn it over to you, Ms. Blanche.
We can't hear Miss Blanche.
Oh, I see. I'm sorry. It's not just my technical issues. Ms. Blanche, you look unmuted. Could you check and see what microphone you have selected? Try one more time, saying something. No, still not working. I'll tell you what, we'll have someone from the team reach out and troubleshoot with you, and we'll come back to you just as soon as we have that working. Okay. In the meantime, let's move to our next applicant, Herbert Burdick. Mr. Burdick.
Yes. Present.
All right, we can hear you. We cannot. There we go.
You hear me and see me?
Yep. All right. Yes, we'll go ahead.
Okay. As far as the summary of my offenses, I was just turned 18. Needless to say, I was with some neighbors that were friends of the family. When I came home one day, there was a detective at the house, and my father was being questioned about my sister had found a stereo that was in her room. I walked in, I told the detective that I was one that had the stereo. He told me, let me read your rights. We went down to the police headquarters. He said, was there any other crimes that you did? Because you should tell us about them all. And I told him there was 3 of them. And needless to say, I forgot about uttering of a bad check. So I was sentenced to probation, but I was only on it for a short period of time. And I was summoned back to court because of this uttering of a bad check. And the judge said that I had no priors. And he said he was going to make an example of me and sentence me to prison. And I went there, excuse me, with 4 years for each one being concurrent with the first. 4 months before my release, mandatory release, my father had passed. I ended up doing mandatory time. The parole board at the time said that being I was that close to mandatory time, they're going to make me do it. And they would see me in 6 months. I told them I wouldn't. I'll be back. I took up 2 full-time jobs. Then I moved up north from Racine because my father was deceased. And my mother was with my youngest sister. I had a few jobs up here. When I was in prison, I was on minimum out from Green Bay, Kettle Moraine, driving guys to school and work release. I was a head usher of the church at Kettle Moraine. When I moved up here, I found when I worked in Racine, when I got released, I was a setup man in the machine shop. So when I moved up here, I proceeded to do that. That job was a small shop. They closed the doors. I had other jobs like driving concrete trucks. And then I got hired by the highway department. I was with them for 27 years. Retired in 2021 because I take care of my in-laws who are 79 and 80. My wife's aunt is 80. Told my boss I didn't want to work till I died. The last 9 years I've been battling with cancer in my bladder. Just recently on the 31st, they didn't think I was going to make it, but they removed my bladder, my prostate, lymph nodes. I did survive. And I knew this date was coming, and I asked my wife if she would, if I didn't make it, if she would ask that I still get a pardon, because it meant a lot to me to be forgiven for what I did when I was young. I wanted that clear slate. I know God's forgiven me because He made me survive. And now I'm just asking for the right to be forgiven by society, because it's haunted me all these years. I can't leave the United States. I can't go to Canada to see the falls from Canada's side. My wife tells me it's really beautiful. And the main thing is I just want to be forgiven, you know. It's just not my character to do what I did when I was young and foolish. I was 18 and I learned my lessons. It doesn't mean I'm less of a man if I don't get the pardon. I know there are people with far worse conditions than I had, because I survived all these years. Like the county, they knew of my past convictions and they said, don't let it bother you, because I am not that person I was when I was 18. So that being said, all I'm asking for is to have that wiped off my slate.
Thank you, Mr. Burdick. Thank you. I just want to see if board members have any questions for you. Judge?
Good afternoon, sir. I just have one question. In your application, you say, in response to one of our questions, you said there's a 3-month restraining order against a former girlfriend, I'm not going to state her name, for domestic violence from 2017. My question is, were you the petitioner in that, or were you the respondent? In other words, did you ask for the restraining order, or did she ask for it?
No, the judge put it on her because I was living with her at the time, and I told her it wasn't working out, that I was going to leave. And when I went to leave, she locked my vehicle in her garage, and I called 911. And when the officers came, she requested, because she was yelling when I was holding my phone, she requested that they not pull in the drive, or to pull in the driveway right up by the door, because I'll try to run away. Well, apparently Adams County parked on the Highway 82, walked down to the house, knocked on the garage door, and the dispatcher was telling her, you got to open the door. There's officers outside of it. And so when they opened it up, my shirt was torn. I had blood running down my chest. One officer went with her, one went with me, asked me if I ever touched her, and I said, I don't hit women. And then the other officer was talking with her, and then when the two officers kept us apart, told us, the officer that was with me comes up and he goes, you were telling the truth, because the officer with her asked if he touched you, and she said no. And he says that's good on your part. We were living together. He told me I could stay there because I was a resident of the home. I said, she don't want me here. I'll just leave. That's all I want to do. And he goes, well, Mr. Burdick, you don't realize it, but somebody's going to jail. And they took pictures of my chest and my shirt. And by her own words, she did it, attacked me. And
Okay.
he said, you can stay here. And then when I went before the judge asked if she pulled a gun on me, and I said no. And he asked if it was okay if she kept her guns. I said, I don't care if she had them in gun safe. I said, she never took the guns out. She just hit me and scratched me and, cut at me. And so he found it that she had to have a restraining order to stay away from me, because she was going down to where my wife was working, or now
Mr.
is
Burdick?
my.
Mr.
Yes.
Burdick, that's really all I wanted to know is it wasn't clear whether she was the one that was ordered to stay away from you, or you were ordered to stay away from her. But now I understand she was ordered to stay away from you. So thank you very much for your information.
Thank you, Mr. Burdick. Cindy, question?
Yeah. Afternoon, Mr. Burdick. Glad your recent health scare has gone better than expected, maybe. I hope you're feeling better. So you asked for a pardon to travel internationally and to hunt and to vote. And I just want to make sure you're aware that you can vote, that once you complete your sentence in Wisconsin, you have the right to vote restored to you.
Could I ask you a question?
Of course.
Could I ask you a question on that real quick?
Yeah.
When Walker was called for recall, why did he ask? Because that's when I realized maybe my vote don't count. Because if you recall, Walker said he wanted anyone that was an ex-felon, their votes to be withdrawn during the recount. And that's when I thought, wow, I thought I had the right, once I was off of paper, to vote. And in hunting, I bow hunt, if I bow hunt at all. I mean, I bow hunt, I got a bow, but I don't go out that often. It's usually just to get out in the woods and sit. I don't mainly want it for the possession of a firearm. I just want to be able to, I can't even go to Alaska because you got to go through Canada to get to Alaska.
Right. Well, Mel, I don't know if you want to say anything more about the voting or.
Yeah, I can't speak to the former governor's statement. I'm not familiar with that, but Cindy's correct. If you are off of probation or parole or off of paper, as they say, you should be eligible to vote in Wisconsin. So regardless of the outcome of today's hearing, I hope you look into that.
Yeah, well, since I've been remarried, I found out I can vote because I do vote now.
Okay, good. Well, I do have one question for you, Mr. Burdick, and I know you've been busy and you've had health scares, but as part of the application process, we encourage applicants to submit letters of support in support of their pardon application, and you did not submit any letters. Can you tell us why you didn't?
I figured it's all up to you guys. I mean, if you want to get a hold of the highway commissioner in Adams County, I'm sure they'll speak for me. All my bosses. I mean, to be honest with you, I didn't think I'd even get to this point of a pardon. You know, I mean, that was.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Burdick. Appreciate your time this afternoon and hope that you enjoy the rest of your day. And I do believe we have Ms. Blanche back with some functional audio now.
All right. Thank you very much. And
thank you.
Thank you for at least listening to me.
Of course. Thank you, Mr. Burdick.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
We can, Ms. Blanche. Thank you.
Okay. Perfect. Okay. It's just kind of awkward because it's going through my phone and my computer, so bear with me, please.
No problem.
Okay. First of all, thank you for your time today, and thank you for the opportunity. I have written everything down so I don't forget anything, so please forgive me while I read my statement. I don't want to miss anything important. I was convicted of forgery and uttering in 1994 and 1996. That was 28 and 30 years ago. I was 18 and 20 years old at the time. I was given probation the first offense, and the second offense, I was sentenced to 120 days in jail, was given 5 years probation, community service, letters of apology to my victims, and then paid restitution, which I completed all of that. I was pregnant at the time, so some of my sentence I served at home on house arrest. With both of my offenses, I stole checks from people. With the first offense for writing and passing checks, I bought 2 pairs of shoes. With the second offense, I purchased a coat, food, bowls, and diapers. I have regretted my criminal actions for the last 30 years. There was no excuse for what I did. I knew better. I was trying to deal with my financial problems by taking an easy and lazy way out and a criminal way out. I take full ownership of my criminal conduct at that time. I believe that I have paid for my offenses. I have learned from them. I have changed my ways, and I have become a very good citizen. I hope that I have made my children proud of their mother. I hope that I have earned forgiveness that a governor's pardon could provide. Today, I'm very sorry for my actions as a teenager. I wish I could apologize to all the people who were my victims. I explained in my answer to question number 9 on my pardon application how my upbringing and family difficulties contributed to my state of mind. Some of the people who wrote letters on my behalf have confirmed my family difficulties. I don't wish to recount those things here, although I would certainly answer any questions about what I wrote in my application. Again, I make no excuses for my criminal conduct. I used horrible judgment. I was immature and knew better. In my answer to question 9, I also explained the people and circumstances that helped me turn my life around. Some of my supporting letters confirmed the turnaround that I achieved. 3 particular people that had a huge impact in my life: my probation officer, Sue, my judge, and my newborn child. I had an amazing probation officer who was very tough, but always encouraging, and made me want to be a better human. The judge at my sentence laid everything out in very simple and direct terms. He told me exactly what I needed to do in order to live an honest and productive life. And I drew inspiration from becoming a parent because my children drove me to be a positive role model. I have always tried to set an example for my 4 children and my grandchildren. Again, if you have any questions about these issues, I will be glad to further explain. I can tell you a little bit about my work history. I was a stay-at-home mom. When my kids were younger, and I cared for other children to make extra income. But once they were old enough, I went back to school, and I achieved a degree in marketing, which is an applied science degree, while raising 4 young children. And then I began working. I owned a dry cleaners for 11 years with my husband while living in Wisconsin. When we moved to South Carolina, I obtained my property management license, real estate license. I was a property manager working Section 8 and tax credit housing for over 10 years. With my divorce from my children's dad after 18 years, and he was not paying child support, to make ends meet, I worked waiting tables in addition to the property management and real estate when I did not have my children. Since obtaining my real estate license in 2011, I have built a successful career in real estate full-time. I was just awarded #1 sales agent in Charleston for 2023 and 3rd company-wide in all of South Carolina. Honesty, hard work, integrity, giving to others, and learning from my mistakes definitely pays off. And since my early adult years, I have tried to give back to the community, and into answering my question 11, I describe many of my efforts to give back. I'm very proud of the work I've done with Ronald McDonald Health. I stayed there for 6 weeks when my daughter was ill, and she passed away at 27 months from RSV. So I do a lot with Ronald McDonald Health, Low Country Orphanage, STEM Ministries, St. Joseph Hospital, Habitat for Humanity, and then church programs in Green Bay, Wisconsin, Chippewa Falls, and in South Carolina. And I even flew to Haiti in 2009 and did missionary relief work.
Thank you, Ms. Blanche. I don't want to cut you off, but I do want to make sure we get to any questions from the board. And I know that we've reviewed a lot of your volunteer work in your application. So I'm just going to pause you there, okay, and see if we have questions.
Sure.
Okay. Cindy.
Good afternoon, Ms. Blanche. In your application, you expressed some concern that your real estate license might be impacted by the felonies, and that's one of the reasons you're seeking a pardon. Has there been any adverse action against your license or anything that leads you to, I'm just curious what you're worried about.
So they have cracked down because there's over 6,000 realtors in Charleston. So they just started 2 years ago cracking down on fingerprinting and educational credits and so forth. So they're getting picky that every 2 years when you renew, that some of them, even though I've had it since 2011, they're not renewing. Okay. So, and I do take care of a lot of my grandchildren's expenses and my children, so that would cause issues with my family. And
okay, thank you.
Other questions from the board? All right, thank you very much, Ms. Blanche. I appreciate your time this afternoon and you sharing your story with us. And I hope that you enjoy the rest of your day.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, our next applicant is Richard Loda. Mr. Loda, are you with us?
Yes, I'm here.
Excellent, we can hear you. We can't quite see you, but I think we're looking at a picture of your dog.
Oh, hold on a second. How's that one?
There we go. All right, we'll turn it over to you.
Hello, Pardon Board. I'm Richard G. Ladua. I'm from Las Vegas, Nevada. I would like to read my statement. It'll be easier this way. First question, my crimes were committed May 21st, 1999 in Kenosha, Wisconsin. First count, possession, cocaine, intent to deliver, 4 years concurrent. Second count, possession, THC, intent to deliver, 4 years concurrent. Third count, possession, THC, intent to deliver. It was a read-in. My license was revoked for 2 years. My sentencing. It took 3 times to be sentenced in front of Judge Kluka because he had juveniles. So I had to go home and tell my boys 3 times I was going away. And I finally was incarcerated on 11/21/2000. I went to I worked on Wisconsin State Farm for 14 months as a utility clerk. 15 to 20 inmates worked with me. We cut trees, we pruned and we picked apple trees, cut firewood, fixed fences, roofs. We basically maintained the whole property. I had plenty of experience in my teens in farming and over 10 years of construction work. I was transferred to work release in Milwaukee, where I got a mason tending job through Local 113, where I had been a member since 1986. I was released on parole September 2002, and I completed my sentence on November 21st, 2004. Number 2 question. I went back to being an underground miner in Milwaukee sewer tunnel projects. Even though I failed the background check, I still worked. My history with my workers from my past really helped me too. I spent all my spare time with my boys catching up and stuff until they moved to Las Vegas in 2005. I feel I served the community at the farm, mentoring and teaching the basic skills to young men from my neighborhood. In 2011, I transferred to Local 872 in Las Vegas to work on Lake Mead Tunnel project. On June 24, 2015, I was involved in a really bad motorcycle accident. I hit a truck. I flew 319 feet. My bike went 309. I had 7 days of coma and 45 days wound care. It was pretty rough. And then on number 3, please consider for the following. I've made mistakes and bad choices. I'd like to move forward with a normal life where I can pass a background check. Asking for a second chance. I've turned my life around. No more criminal activity. Restore my rights so I can hunt and travel outside the country. Possibly seek a position at the Nevada test site. Any questions?
Thank you, Mr. Ludo. We'll open it up to the board for questions. Judge Kremers? You're muted, Judge.
Clicked on it, but it didn't take. All right. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Your crime in 1999 involved you being found with 20 marijuana plants and about $38,000 in cash that was in your family business's semi-tractor truck. And you indicated that you had been using your father's trucking business to transport marijuana and other drugs to support yourself. I have that about right?
Yes, sir.
So were you making like $38,000 on a drug deal?
No, not all. Half the money was mine. No, I wasn't. I was barely making my bills.
Why'd you have all that cash on you?
I worked all the time. I had a regular job in the union. Look at my background. I made a lot of money.
Not asking
that was the thing I did on the side.
I'm asking I'm asking why you had all that cash on you.
Oh, I was going to Las Vegas with it and the plants. I'm sorry, I misunderstood you.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Any other questions from the board? No? All right. Thank you very much for your time this afternoon, Mr. Laduha, and I hope that you enjoy the rest of your day.
All right, thank you, Mel.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Our next applicant is Tiana Allen-Harrison, who I do believe I saw. There we
Hello.
go.
Oh, is my picture? Okay, there we go.
Perfect. We'll turn it over to you.
Okay, thank you. Hi, my name is Tiana Allen-Harrison. I do want to thank you all for your time and this opportunity. Back in 1999, I created, I was working at a clothing store and I created false receipts, made up fictitious receipts and names and previous names of customers that were coming into the store, and made up the receipts as I returned merchandise and to get cash. And I kept the cash because I was behind in bills. My husband at the time had lost his job. I had just had a child, and it was wrong on my behalf. I felt bad, felt truly bad about it. It was wrong for stealing from my employer. And I take full responsibility for my actions. I did cooperated with the officers and everything. After that, I had been on a job for 17 years, doing different, I'm trying to say, community work where I was doing things with feeding the homeless, reading to the kids with my other job that I did have. And then, what did I do here? I'm a little nervous, I'm sorry.
That's okay, take your
time. But my reason for also seeking, I'm gonna go back some. I do things in the community with my church as well. We go around to the neighborhoods, speak with people in the neighborhoods. We go out to do different things in the community where we have like little carnivals in the parking lot. For one, I love people. I love doing things with children, people. I have 4 grandchildren. I love them. They love coming around. We do different things, but the reason for me asking for this partner is because I love what I do. As far as in my accounting field, administrative field, the last job I was on, I loved the job that I had. It was bought out by another company, which that company reran background checks, and my felony came up, and they gave me so many days to, see if I was able to either get it, get paperwork done on and get it expunged, whatever I could do. But I ended up losing that job. So that's just my main thing is just, I know I made a mistake, and it's hindering me from doing the things that I want to do. And I'm not even in the, basically the field that I want to be in, but I just love working with people. And I just wish that, that would be off my plate.
Thank you, Ms. Allen-Harrison. Questions from the board? Cindy.
Yes, good afternoon. So I understand the circumstances of your last employment when the company got bought out and they ran background checks. Have you been employed since then?
Yes.
And what do you do?
Right now, I'm at Wood Premier, where I do things with caregivers, the timesheets. Well, we work with do a lot of onboarding packages, basically like administrative work.
More in like human resources or
Not
really?
Not really like human resources. We are a trying to pick the word where we basically we do onboarding packages, and they bring in, like, we help like get different caregivers for their loved ones. So we basically set that up for them.
Okay. How long have you been doing that?
I've been here a year and maybe 3 months.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Before. Okay.
No, thank you.
Thank you.
Jerry, do you have a question? Yeah.
Maybe you were gonna answer this question, but in your application, you worked 16 years for Manpower, correct?
That's correct.
Yeah, and it says you were a cash application specialist. What was that job?
Basically, the cash application specialist. It was basically like accounts receivable work.
Yeah. Okay. And
they just changed the heading of it to cash applications.
Great. And you did then the same job at Masterlock for 3 years after that, right?
Correct.
Okay. All right. So for 20 years, you were doing accounts receivable work for those corporations, right?
Correct.
Okay. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? No? All right. Thank you very much, Ms. Allen-Harrison. Appreciate your time this afternoon, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you all for the opportunity. Have a blessed day.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right. And our last applicant of the day is Monet Shaw. Ms. Shaw, is that you on the Samsung?
It is. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Is my volume okay?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Perfect. Thank you. So first of all, thank you all for being here. As much as I value and appreciate direct eye contact, I will be reading off notes. I'm extremely nervous, and I think this is just a better way to go about things.
We understand.
Thank you. So I'll start off by, I was sentenced to 1 year probation with the 90 days stay. That was in Waukesha County, and convicted of misappropriation use of ID. The sentencing date was in 2013, and the offense occurred in May of 2012. During this time, the conviction happened because while caring for a resident who I actually created a very good rapport with, we had what I considered a very decent relationship. She had a lot of trust in me, and I had a lot of respect for this person. This resident would frequently buy me small trinkets and gifts and things of appreciation. She would also allow me to use her debit card for authorized purchases I made on her behalf or for her or her husband. During this time, I made a terrible decision to use her card without her permission or authorization and or her knowledge. In doing so, I obtained a debit card of the residents and used it to purchase gas at a local gas station. Contrary to belief, immediately afterwards, I knew that it was wrong. Immediately. Excuse me. And that I had made a horrible decision. I'm not sure if it was guilt or embarrassment, because instead of admitting my wrongs and trying to correct the situation and returning the card, I decided to discard the card just randomly out of my window while driving home. I don't believe in many excuses, and I won't make any. The only thing that I can say is that I was in a bad space mentally, and I just was not happy with myself. As far as since the conviction and those things transpired, I can proudly say that I have not had any contact, with law enforcement. I have maintained what I would consider very decent full-time employment. During this incident, I was able to obtain employment with Mac Law Offices, starting off as a legal assistant, but quickly moving into a paralegal position, which I was very proud about. From Mac Law Offices, I went on to work as an administrative assistant, and then on to an office operations associate for DBR. Now I am extremely proud to say that I am part of the Wisconsin finance team for Maximus. All of these jobs that I was able to obtain and hold, they did perform background checks, and I was still offered and accepted these positions. I say that just to say that I think that that does speak somewhat to my character and the type of person that I am. I've done things such as in June of 2018, I went on and participated in the former offender pipeline to employment program that is sponsored by DWD in the park, as well as the Department of Corrections, where I obtained a completion certificate. I continuously donate and participate and or volunteer for local community events. Next week, Wednesday, I will be taking part in the Juneteenth parade here down in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I also occasionally participate in one-on-one counseling with local church members and groups, and that is just done voluntarily. I'm not signed up or held to any standard. It's just something I like to do to make me feel better about myself. Most importantly, I keep to myself and my family and my church events if I'm not working. I no longer affiliate myself with anything that could jeopardize my freedom, my peace, or my safety. Moving on to question 3. I would really appreciate I would really appreciate the pardon, just so that I can continue to move forward with my life in a positive direction. I am now raising a 14-year-old daughter. And with that being said, I just would like to provide a positive and stable environment for her. And that's my main focus. I feel as though I have paid my debts, both financially as well as to the society. Eventually, I would like to relocate, and I just don't want to be tied to such a negative title, if you will. It's just, people tend to be grouped when when you're considered a felon and you're put inside of kind of like this circle or bubble, if you will. And I just don't think I meet that criteria anymore. Where I probably did in the past, that's no longer who I am. I'm no longer the person I was when this offense was committed, and I would just like to move forward with my life as best as possible. I strongly believe that this pardon will allow me to become an even better citizen.
Thank you, Ms. Shaw. I just want to see if board members have any questions for you. Jerry.
Ms. Shaw, let me ask you a couple of specific questions and just answer them as briefly as you can. What kind of facility was this where you were working when you took the debit card?
Assisted living, a certified bed rest facility.
Okay, and how many beds were in that facility?
Oh, wow, that was like maybe 32 to a 34 bed facility.
Okay, and if you know, what was the reaction to I guess it was the wife, but the husband had dementia?
Yes, that is correct.
What was their reaction for your stealing the debit card?
Mr. Hancock, they were very, very upset. Understandably, right? Very upset, disappointed. It extremely hurt.
And what happened what did the facility do as a result of your stealing the debit card?
I was terminated.
Okay.
Yes.
And do you know what effect you're stealing the debit card from this person with dementia. Did that ripple through the institution? I mean, I can imagine that other people who had family members there, if they knew about this, would be concerned.
Absolutely, rightfully so. I don't want to overspeak, so I can't much speak on the effects it kind of had it as, with the facility. I know that it's still there. But I would assume a negative effect, right? It's a CBRF, it's a small knit community. I can remember being at work while they were moving out. And this was before, things had kind of transpired, before, they found out that I was the guilty party, and it was just a somber environment. Yeah. Very much so. Because I would say, a coward, and I didn't speak up and step up and admit my wrongdoings. I can just remember being at work and it just being very uncomfortable, very quiet, very still. I would believe it had a very negative effect on not just the family, but the coworkers, right? Because now we have to move a certain way to be careful that we're not looked at as being guilty. The administrator, we were very close. I know that she believed in me. I had been working there for years. My mother was an employee of the facility. That was really hard.
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions for Ms. Shaw? No? Okay. Ms. Shaw, thank you very much for your time this afternoon, for speaking with us, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you. You all as well. I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Right. That is our last applicant of the day. So at this point, I will entertain a motion to move the board into closed session pursuant to Wisconsin statute section 19.85 sub 1 sub A sub D and F for purposes of deliberations concerning specific cases before the board, for purposes of considering specific applications and considering financial, medical, social, or personal histories of specific persons. Do you have a motion?
Moved.
Judge Kremers, do I have a second? Cindy, all in favor? Aye. All opposed? None. All right. With that, we will move into closed session, and board members, I'll just ask you to give me a moment to make sure we get folks back to the waiting room and stop the live stream.